Divine and mysterious immortality. I start my cultivation by adding points as a butcher. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 301, Unexpected Harvest, Spiritual Minds Everywhere. After exchanging information, Wei Hong also roughly understood the situation outside. The mine has just experienced a turmoil, and the karst stone forest often leaks demonic energy. It is really not a place to stay for a long time. But it is not safe to go out now. Once you show up, you will inevitably be questioned and hunted by many parties. If you are not careful, you will fall into a trap and find it difficult to escape. This is really a dilemma. Nai Sanyang saw his dilemma and suggested with a smile, if you go out alone now, you will definitely be questioned. Either disguise yourself as a woman or get a fake identity. Or, you can go out with me. It will always be better for two people to walk together. You shouldn't be questioned. Wei Hong couldn't help laughing when he heard it. Disguising as a woman is a solution, but he disdains it. It is not good to go out with Nai Sanyang. If you are not careful, you will be involved in the 10,000 poison sect. It seems that I can only continue to lurk in the mine for a while. There's no rush for this. Wei Hong waved his hand nonchalantly and said, the magic fog tide just erupted, and it's safe here for the time being. Nai Sanyang nodded in agreement. In that case, you should stay here to hide for the time being. I have to go back immediately. Something almost happened this time. If I don't go back, my fellow disciples in the sect will be worried. Okay. Wei Hong didn't act pretentiously, and got up to see him off. After pushing open the stone door of the secret room, Nai Sanyang looked around, turned around and smiled, and left here in a flash. Go. Wei Hong raised his hand and clapped. Several ghost children appeared in the mine tunnel. They climbed around with a grin and began to search the surroundings. One is to check for danger, and the other is to keep an eye out. This secret room has been known by Nai Sanyang, so it must not be used. Although Wei Hong trusts the people of the 10,000 poison sect, it is better to be cautious than to be safe, and necessary precautions must be taken. After confirming that there is no danger again and again, Wei Hong left the secret room and headed for the cave where he had hunted the blue-striped fire spirit ants in the past, preparing to build a new secret room here. After all, the ants here have been almost killed. It's just right for playing a trick, and I think no one will rashly break into the ants' territory, right? Not long after, Wei Hong copied another secret room in a remote corner of another cave, and blocked the door of the secret room with a huge rock. Unless you search specifically, it's hard to find a different world inside. And this place is located in the blue-striped fire spirit ants' territory, which makes hunting much more convenient in the future. But when Wei Hong finished everything, he found something wrong. There was no trace of ants in the cave, as if they disappeared out of thin air. Strange? Isn't the magic fog tide over? Why haven't the ants come back? Could it be that they moved to other places to build nests? There are countless nests of blue-striped fire spirit ants in this mining area. It's not surprising that they gave up this nest. Wei Hong searched around and finally confirmed that the ants had already abandoned the nest and had no intention of returning. Whether they were afraid of the magic fog in the stone forest of the cave or gave up the nest for other reasons, it was not a good thing for Wei Hong. What a trouble. Wei Hong searched around with a headache. He found that there were fine passages drilled by ants everywhere. There was no human habitation here for a long time, and there was no mine tunnel dug by miners to pass through. In other words, if he really wanted to continue hunting, he would have to dig a passage himself. It was so time-consuming and laborious that it would definitely not be done in a short time. What a trouble. Wei Hong secretly had a headache. But he still resigned himself to taking out the pickaxe and getting busy. Ding ding ding. With one pickaxe after another digging on the stone wall, Wei Hong quickly cleared a wide passage, but it didn't take long for him to dig up the nest of the blue-striped fire spirit ants hidden in the mountain. They hollowed out a large area of the mountain. The interior was filled with soil, and there were layers of fine passages, which looked creepy. Boom. Wei Hong raised his hand and shook it. The surging internal force directly shook the nest into dust. When the dust and dirt were scattered all over the ground, he also saw many unhatched ant eggs, food residues, and a pile of metal blocks the size of soybeans. Huh? Wei Hong's eyes widened in surprise. What can't be broken by internal force is naturally the spiritual ore for cultivating immortals. There are many small pieces of spiritual ores, with as many as 7 or 8 varieties, and they are probably carried here by ants, right? Is this the water-sinking black crystal? Golden flame iron? Bone-eroding silver sand? Wei Hong picked them up one by one, trying to identify their types. He found that these were all precious spiritual ores recorded in the pamphlet of the garrison army, and they were extremely rare. The exchange points for each type were very high. Although I don't know why the blue-veined fire spirit ants collect these spiritual ores. But now it's a bargain for him. If all these spiritual ores are taken out, I'm afraid he can exchange them for hundreds of thousands of points at the garrison army. But Wei Hong didn't plan to hand in these good things. After all, they are all precious spiritual ores. Wouldn't it be nice to keep them for yourself? It will be a starting capital for you to enter the world of immortal cultivation in the future. As for the points, just find another way. With his ability, it is not difficult to get points to exchange for the immortal order. Thinking of this, Wei Hong quickly mobilized a wisp of spiritual power to open the storage bag, and then squatted on the ground to dig all the spiritual ores into it for storage. After a thorough inventory, he probably collected hundreds of kilograms of spiritual ores. The big ones are the size of thumbs, and the small ones are only the size of soybeans. They are piled together and do not take up space. They are only about 1 foot long and wide. It's a pity that ordinary fire can't do anything to spiritual ores, and Wei Hong has no means to smelt them, otherwise he must melt them into iron blocks before they can be stored. The internal space of the storage bag is about 5 or 6 feet long and wide, but it should be easy to put in a few thousand kilograms of spiritual ores. It seems that hunting can't stop. Wei Hong's mouth curled up slightly. He waved the pickaxe vigorously again, preparing to dig through the mine to find the next nest of the blue-striped fire spirit ants. Hunting these ants can not only earn a living, but also dig up superior spiritual ore. Such a good thing is hard to find even with a lantern. If other people did not dare to set foot on the territory of the blue-striped fire spirit ants, how could he take it all for himself? Wei Hong's mind has long been attracted by this huge profit. He has thrown all the hatred, the magic fog tide, and the pursuit of all parties behind him. Now he just wants to make a lot of money. Everything else is secondary. Ding ding ding. Wei Hong waved the pickaxe vigorously. A long and narrow mine tunnel gradually appeared, going directly to other blue-striped fire spirit ant nests deep in the mining area. Chapter 302 Going Out, Fishing and Counterattacking. Another 2 months passed in a flash. Wei Hong was immersed in mining and hard training every day. Not only did his strength improve by leaps and bounds, but he also successfully wiped out several nests of blue-striped fire spirit ants. He accumulated 700 or 800 kilograms of various rare spirit ores. He slaughtered tens of millions of various ants. These ants provided him with 20 to 30 million vitality points, not only providing high-intensity daily training, but also saving 7 or 8 million vitality points in a few months. In this way, the harvest is not small. Wei Hong has always been a patient person. If ordinary people stay in this dark mine for a few months, they will definitely be suffocated to death. But he is full of energy every day, and he doesn't feel suffocated at all, and doesn't care about hard work and boredom. The only thing that makes him helpless is that there is not much food left. Although he has stored a lot of food in the storage bag, and tries to get water in the mine or the dark river, after a few months of consumption, he still eats it all. Even if Wei Hong is unwilling at this moment, he has to give up the mining business that he has been busy for a long time and prepare to go out. But he had just left the area of the blue-striped fire spirit ants. He had only walked a few hundred feet when he was blocked in a mine tunnel. Several warriors who were working hard to mine looked at him, and immediately stopped their work without making a sound. After looking at each other, they surrounded him. At first, Wei Hong thought that they saw him alone and were ready to rob him by relying on their numbers, but when he saw the excitement in their eyes, he immediately realized that his identity had been exposed. "Brothers, you have good eyesight." Wei Hong was not panicked at all, but asked curiously, "I just wanted to go out for some fresh air. How did you recognize my identity so quickly?" "Ha ha ha, it turned out to be him. This kid is Zhaozilin wanted by Kunshan sect. Damn, I'm rich." Several people were overjoyed when they heard this. They threw away their pickaxes, drew their swords and approached step by step, looking at Wei Hong as if they were looking at prey. One of the dark and strong men even grinned and explained, "Damn, If you don't admit it, we dare not confirm it, but look at your clothes, isn't it full of flaws? Oh. Wei Hong looked down and suddenly realized he was indeed dusty and his hair was dirty. After not taking a shower for several months, he was probably not much better than a beggar. Which master of the refining realm in Shenzhen is not a smart person? They had long forgotten about Wei Hong and the fact that Kunshan sect wanted him, but as soon as they saw his clothes, they saw that something was wrong, and it was not difficult to guess his identity. So it was my negligence. Wei Hong shook his head and chuckled, thank you for reminding me. If I go out with dishonor, I'm afraid I will be besieged again. You are really crazy, you still want to go out after being met by his brothers. The dark and strong man was furious, raised his knife and slashed at him. Swish. Everyone only saw Wei Hong move suddenly. A black sword suddenly appeared in his right hand, and the next moment he disappeared like a ghost, and only a few sword lights flashed in everyone's eyes. Be careful. A cry flashed. The next moment everyone froze in place, the light in their eyes quickly dimmed, and they fell straight to the ground without a sound. Wei Hong's strength has long been infinitely close to the perfection of the refining state, and his foundation is so deep that it is shocking. Although he has never used the power contained in the black sword, this immortal weapon can still chop ordinary weapons like chopping melons and vegetables. Therefore, killing these people basically didn't use a single move. The 5 unlucky guys were easily strangled by him in an instant. A few months ago, Wei Hong killed 3 warriors of the same level, and he needed 9 ghost children to assist and restrain them, but now there are not many people who can survive from his hands with just the power of a sword. This is also the reason why he dared to walk out of the mine without hesitation. A few months of mining career has almost ruined my brain. I didn't even have the most basic vigilance. Thank you for reminding me. Wei Hong retracted the black sword expressionlessly. Then he began to touch the corpses silently. He was not interested in the weapons and elixirs on these people. Only the identity tokens made his eyes light up. Shenzhen was full of good and bad people. When exchanging items in the garrison barracks, only tokens were recognized, not people. In other words, if Wei Hong took these tokens, he could exchange all treasures with the points under the name of the token owner. It was not as profitable to kill people with one sword as to work hard to mine for 10 years. No wonder there was such turmoil in Shenzhen. Everything was because of the interests that moved people's hearts. Dispose of the bodies. Wei Hong ordered casually. In the darkness, 9 ghost children rushed over impatiently. They excitedly sucked the blood from several people, and then controlled their bodies to stagger away. Soon these bodies would fall into the dark river to feed the fish, and would never alarm anyone. And Wei Hong only needed to exchange things in the barracks before the news of these people's disappearance was passed back. In addition, with a few more identity copper medals on his body, Wei Hong can also disguise himself as the other party at will to get through. He is more powerful than the Thousand Faces man, so why would he care about being hunted down? As long as he wants, even if Wei Hong stands in front of Li Yulan, she will not recognize him, right? Wei Hong was satisfied with putting a few identity copper medals in his pocket. He did not rush to find a place to change clothes and wash up, but continued to wander around in the mine tunnel, and even went to the crowded rich mine area. After a while, he was stopped by someone in a mine tunnel again. 7 or 8 warriors who were mining heard the footsteps and raised their heads. When they saw him, their tense emotions immediately relaxed a lot. But the next moment, several people found something wrong. After looking at each other, they silently blocked his way. What's the matter? Wei Hong asked knowingly. I'm just passing by. Do you want to rob me? Brother, what's your name? A skinny man asked with a sneer. No comment. Wei Hong's eyes flashed with a trace of guilt. Several people suddenly laughed grimly. Without saying a word, they attacked him directly. But Wei Hong was waiting for this moment. Since they took the initiative to attack, don't blame me for killing people. In an instant, screams rang out. When the sword light in his hand disappeared again, there were several more corpses on the ground. Tisk tisk tisk, sorry everyone, I didn't mean to fish on purpose. Wei Hong grumbled jokingly, while touching the corpse and said, if you want to blame yourselves for having agreed to kill people and get the reward, so I can only get it. You. The skinny man stared with wide eyes and vomited blood. In the end, he could only die in reluctance and regret. Wei Hong smiled and ordered the ghost boy to destroy the corpse, and he walked to the next mine tunnel, ready to continue his fishing career. Chapter 303 Taiyu Divine Art, Pretending to Get Treasure. A silent killing was going on quietly in the mine tunnel. No one could have imagined that Wei Hong, who had disappeared for several months, would suddenly show up in the mine tunnel and go fishing and killing people everywhere. Anyone who wanted to kill him became a dead soul under his sword. After killing 20 or 30 people in a row, Wei Hong finally stopped. He cleaned up all the bodies and should not be discovered in a short time. Next, he only needed to rush to the garrison barracks before the news of these people's death was reported back and use up the points in the other party's identity token. These people have been hanging around in the mine tunnel for a long time. There must be at least 1 or 2,000 points, and there must be as many as 1 or 2,000. I'm afraid it's not a small number for dozens of people. It's a pity that the points cannot be transferred to each other, otherwise the identity token in my hand alone would be enough to make up 2 or 3 immortal orders, right? Wei Hong was a little regretful. After simply finding a dark river to wash up, he changed into an inconspicuous gray suit and walked out of the mine tunnel and returned to the bottom of the Shenjianitun cliff. There are still many people guarding the entrance of the mine. Each small group sent people to guard the entrance of the cave. Once their own miners came out of the cave, they would inevitably have to collect a commission. Wei Hong disguised himself as a tall and thin man with a yellow face. He had already memorized the faces of the dozens of people he had killed. This yellow-faced man was a member of a small group called Kangzhou Nai League. His identity and origin were all fine, so he did not attract the attention of outsiders at all. Hey, Lali made a good profit today. As soon as he walked out of the mine, someone familiar greeted him. Wei Hong nodded and fooled around, and at the same time allowed the Renai League supervision team to check the spiritual ore in the bag, and then register and take a commission. After everything was done, he successfully got away and went straight to the barracks. The garrison barracks were not very lively today. There was no change compared to a few months ago. There were only a few teams of soldiers training, and there were only a few people in the exchange office. Wei Hong quietly lined up at the back of the line. When it was his turn, he handed over a small bag of ore and let the clerks classify and weigh the spiritual ore. Senior, you have handed in a total of 1.6 jin of earthly evil silver sand iron, 7 liang of quicksand silver, and 5 liang of red moon gold. The total income is 745 points. The middle-aged steward recorded it in a businesslike manner. Wei Hong glanced at the total points on the booklet and saw that there were more than 5,000 points. It seems that this yellow-faced man has a good income, at least better than ordinary miners. Exchange me for an explosive spirit pill and 2 bottles of 5 organ pills. Wei Hong said concisely. Okay. Please wait. The middle-aged steward agreed and quickly asked someone to bring the things over. After a while, Wei Hong had 3 more porcelain bottles in his hand. He opened them and took a look, then turned around and left with satisfaction. The reason for exchanging the explosive spirit pill and the 5 organ pill was actually after careful consideration. Since the points in the bronze medals of many identities cannot be transferred, they can only be exchanged for things, but he has no shortage of martial arts, poisons, and tonics. The explosive spirit pill is still useful to him, and the 5 organs pill can be used barely. He has no interest in exchanging the rest. After turning around and leaving, he wandered around outside. While no one was paying attention, Wei Hong disguised himself as another person, took a new token and went straight to the barracks. Soon, it was his turn again. This time, the points in the token were much more than 20,000 points. Wei Hong was secretly surprised. This is a considerable amount. As long as he wanted, he could exchange for a place to leave Shenjianun right now and escape directly from this depressing ghost place, and only 10,000 points would be deducted. But Wei Hong didn't want to leave for the time being. Although he was no longer interested in the treasures in the refining organs realm, he lacked the resources of the Xiantian realm. Whether it was the Xiantian realm skills, martial arts, or other things, Wei Hong was very envious. Exchange for a copy of Taiyu Divine Art and a copy of detailed explanation of Xiantian realm cultivation. Wei Hong spoke again. Okay, wait a moment. The middle-aged steward unexpectedly looked at him a few more times. However, he didn't say much, and directly deducted the points, and then brought him 2 booklets. The Taiyu Divine Art is a complete Xiantian realm technique of the lower grade of the Zhuan level, with a total of 24,000 points. The Xiantian realm cultivation detailed explanation only requires 1,000 points, and you have 549 points left. the middle-aged steward explained politely. Wei Hong nodded expressionlessly, and after checking that there was nothing wrong with the things, he turned around and left. After wandering around for half a cup of tea, he came back here for the third time. Because his disguise skills were superb, he could completely imitate the essence of a person, so he appeared again and again, but did not attract anyone's attention at all. Even the middle-aged steward who had been handling the exchange in the barracks did not find anything strange. In just 2 days, Wei Hong exchanged for a total of 3 Xiantian Realm exercises, 4 Xiantian Realm martial arts, a Xiantian Realm practice notebook, more than 10 explosive spirit pills, and dozens of bottles of 5 organ pills. Such a large amount of cultivation resources are scattered among dozens of people, so it is naturally not particularly conspicuous. But if people knew that all these things were on him, I am afraid that Wei Hong would stir up Shen Jianyun again in an instant, and trigger a new round of hunting. At the same time, the disappearance of dozens of people who were killed gradually attracted the attention of various small groups. At first, everyone didn't take it seriously, thinking that their people were delayed in the mine for 2 days. But as the number of missing people increased, the bosses of various small groups also noticed something was wrong. When the news spread, all forces couldn't help but get horrified, because the number of missing people was too large. A rough calculation showed that there were as many as 32 people. These are all powerful people in the refining organ realm. Any one of them would be a top figure in the world. The death of so many people at once, even if it was distributed among various small groups, was enough to make people feel distressed and vomit blood. Damn it, could it be that the magic fog tide has erupted again? Otherwise, how could so many people disappear quietly? Impossible. Every time the magic fog tide erupts, black fog will appear. Have you seen black fog in the past few days? It's really strange. Even if there is a robbery conflict, it is impossible for so many people to die so quietly, right? Isn't there any sound when fighting? At the entrance of the mine, senior officials from all parties came out one after another. Everyone talked about it with ugly faces, and everyone's eyes were gloomy. If the cause of this accident is not clear, I am afraid that everyone who enters the mine will be worried. In the long run, it will affect their interests, so everyone is naturally extremely anxious. In the crowd, Li Yulan, the old witch of Kunshan school, leaned on a cane and thought about something. For some reason, her sixth sense always felt that this matter was not simple at all, and it even seemed to be related to the guy who had been missing for several months. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 304: A Difficult Decision, A Brazen Attack. That night, in the stone house of Kunshan sect, Li Yulan, Zhen Maijin and 7 or 8 masters of the refining organ realm gathered together, and the atmosphere was solemn as they sat around the stove. For several months, Kunshan sect relied on the name of the Jiangnan 5 Prefectures Mutual Aid Association to secretly recruit some trustworthy people. Although Qian Mianren and Xia Haofang died at the hands of Wei Hong, there are still 4 people in Kunshan sect now, plus the people Li Yulan has recruited over the past few months, and now they are a force that cannot be underestimated in Shenjian. But today, their faces are not very good. Zhen Maijin looked at Li Yulan suspiciously and said, "Sister, why do you think that what happened today is probably related to Zhao Zilan? Hasn't he been missing for several months? Yet, it shouldn't be. This kind of person is just a rat that hides its head and shows its tail. How can he have this ability? If he is really that powerful, what would he have done long ago? Why did he hide for several months? Other forces have no grudges against him. Why did they kill dozens of people at once?" Everyone talked about it. Obviously, they didn't agree with Li Yulan's statement. She urgently summoned people today and kept saying that all this was definitely related to a stray dog. How could they believe it? They didn't even dare to believe it. Because once the news was confirmed, it meant that there was a terrifying enemy lurking in the dark. The other party could kill dozens of people silently and could kill them easily. How could everyone not be scared? My sixth sense is always accurate. Although there is no evidence, it is probably him. Li Yulan said in a cold voice, "Don't underestimate this lost dog. He can escape from thousands of masters of the refining organ realm, which proves that he is not a mediocre person." Everyone was silent. Imagine if they were chased by thousands of masters of the refining organ realm at the same time. I am afraid that few people would dare to say that they can escape, right? A person who can easily escape from layers of encirclement and survive in the mind tunnel for several months without being caught is definitely not easy to mess with. Li Yulan said in a trembling voice, I regret provoking such an enemy, but it is too late now. I can only try my best to remedy it. Everyone, please don't set foot in the mine for the next period of time. Even if you are outside the mine tunnel, try not to be alone, so as not to give the thieves an opportunity. Everyone's face suddenly became uglier. In Shenzhen, except for the main street and the barracks, there are no restrictions on fighting in other places. If the other party comes to attack, it's horrible to think about it. Thinking of this, several warriors who had just joined the Kunshan sect were uneasy. They came here to take advantage of the situation, but now they haven't gotten any benefits, and if they are not careful, they will be targeted by a mysterious strong man. This is not a happy thing. Everyone. Li Yulan coughed lightly and picked up the teacup, saying slowly, only in times of crisis can we witness people's hearts. Since I dare to tell you the truth about this matter, I am actually testing you. If you are willing to advance and retreat with my Kunshan sect, then you will be our real family in the future, and I will never dare to treat you unfairly. But if you want to withdraw now, I will never bear grudges and make things difficult for you. As soon as the voice fell, the atmosphere in the stone house became even weirder. Everyone cursed in their hearts. This old witch was smart and deliberately forced people to express their opinions at this time. After all, no one knows whether this matter is true or false. If it is false, they will definitely be retaliated if they choose to leave at this time, and it will be difficult for them not to be bullied in the future. But if it was true, Li Yulan also wanted to tie everyone to the Kunshan faction ship, and everyone would die if they were unlucky. The choice is related to their own lives. Everyone looked at each other, and all were silent. After a long time, a black-faced man stood up with a wry smile, clasped his fists and said, Everyone, I am a coward with low skills, just want to earn some points honestly, it is better not to wade into this muddy water, goodbye. Me too. Sorry. Two more people stood up and said goodbye and left. Although Li Yulan, Zhen Maijin and others looked ugly, they did not dare to speak to stop her. After all, it would be bad to say what she had just said. Moreover, no matter how cowardly the masters of the refining Zhang realm are, they are not easy to mess with, so they have room for choice. In the end, only 3 people stayed. He, coward. How can you survive in this Shenzhen when you are scared to death by a rumor? That's right, these idiots. The 3 people who stayed were full of contempt. No problem. Li Yulan said with a forced smile, if you are willing to stay, you are our people. You will definitely get some benefits in the future. Okay, okay. The 3 of them smiled happily. The world is bustling for profit. They came to Shenzhen to work hard just to get some benefits. Mining is so hard, and the best way is to hold on to the thigh of Kunshan sect. However, just when the group was about to discuss how to deal with this crisis, the black-faced man who had just left came back. After he opened the door, everyone's eyes fell on him. What? Master Lu is going to change his mind. Li Yulan was stunned. Yes. The black-faced man laughed and said, no. Okay. Of course you are welcome. Li Yulan agreed with a smile, but the next moment her face changed drastically and she suddenly retreated backwards. Be careful. Get out of the way. Everyone was also frightened and exclaimed. It turned out that the black-faced man had a black sword in his hand at some point. He was very close to everyone, and the long sword in his hand instantly slashed out fiercely. The stone house was too small to hide. Everyone was unable to defend themselves after being attacked. When masters fight, one move often determines life or death. Moreover, at the moment of their resistance, it seemed as if something invisible bound them, so the next moment they saw their bodies cut in all directions, and they fell directly into a pool of blood. All this happened too fast. From the attack to the end, it was only a moment. 6 of the 7 people in the stone house died on the spot, either their heads were moved or their bodies were cut in half. Their eyes were full of reluctance, shock, despair, and disbelief, and finally they all lost their spirit. Only Li Yulan, the old witch, huddled in the innermost part of the stone house, was unharmed, but the cane in her hand had already been easily cut off by the black sword like cutting melons and vegetables, just like the weapons of others. Her hand holding the half-broken cane was trembling slightly. She stared at the corpse on the ground with a pair of cloudy eyes, almost collapsing. How could she accept that these people were still chatting and laughing just a moment ago and died here in an instant? You are not Lu Daniu, you are Zhao Zilan. Li Yulan's eyes seemed to be poisoned, and she spoke with gritted teeth. Chapter 305, The Black Sword shows its power, and the whole place is devastated. I said last time that Zhao Zilan is just a code name. If you like, you can call me Li Zilan or Wang Zilan. Wei Hong spoke expressionlessly. He repeated what he said when he first talked to Li Yulan a few months ago. This naturally acknowledged his identity. Beast, you beast. Li Yulan was so angry that she trembled all over, and the half-broken cane in her hand was almost crushed by her. She never thought that she would fall here. You should know that Kunshan School and Wei Hong have no hatred at all, but she suddenly had the idea of letting Qian Mianren impersonate his identity, so she provoked this lunatic. Who would have thought that Wei Hong hid in the mine like a stray dog for several months, and came back so strong and domineering, and went to kill people without any nonsense? In an instant, the hundreds of years of inheritance of Kunshan School have been burned. Looking at the corpses on the ground, Li Yulan felt like the sky was about to fall. These were the pillars of the Kunshan School. Now that they were all dead here, how could the school continue to be passed down? You deserve to die. Li Yulan growled with a face full of resentment. The next moment, he rushed over without caring, with a vicious and tricky palm, and thousands of palm winds went straight to Wei Hong's vital points. Bang, bang, bang. Wei Hong held the sword in his backhand and fought the enemy with one hand. He performed the cloud overturning palm to perfection, easily forcing the opponent's attack back, and even counterattacked her with a blow that shocked her back and spit out a mouthful of black blood. As the saying goes, an expert knows whether he has a move or not. The brief confrontation between the two made Li Yulan know that the man in front of her was by no means a mediocre player, and even the other party was more powerful than her. Given her old age, weak body, and declining blood and ki. Once the surging internal force failed to form an overwhelming advantage, the opponent only needed to delay for a while, and she would be the only one who would be unlucky. Die, 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 let's die together. Li Yulan was like a madman. She raised her hand and stuffed 3 explosive spirit pills into her mouth. The next moment, her internal energy was surging and boiling. Even half of her fine steel crutch was twisted into a twist. Wei Hong curled his lips with interest. 1 explosive spirit pill would cost her internal organs and lifespan to increase her internal energy. She swallowed 3 at once. She was trying to die together. Interesting. Wei Hong was not panicked when he saw this. The successful attack just now had already dealt with the others. Now that he couldn't sneak attack, he could also defeat her head-on. If Li Yulan hadn't swallowed the explosive spirit pill, Wei Hong was confident that he could deal with her within 3 moves. Unfortunately, she swallowed 3. Now Li Yulan's surging internal energy was like a boiling river and sea. Unless Wei Hong also swallowed 3 explosive spirit pills, it would be absolutely difficult to deal with her in a short time. In that case, let's try my sword. Wei Hong did not hesitate to directly trigger the powerful energy hidden in the black sword in his hand. The next moment, the two of them attacked with all their strength. Boom. Li Yulan raised her hand and slapped. The internal force crushed like a raging wave, and all the debris in the stone house was instantly shattered into powder, and even several corpses were blown away. Wei Hong raised his sword and chopped it down. A blood-colored sword energy appeared, and the next moment it collided directly with Li Yulan's terrifying palm wind. At this moment, time seemed to stop. Both of them showed ferocious murderous intent and used the most ferocious attack in their lives, ready to crush each other to death. It stands to reason that a peak strong man in the refining internal organs realm, who swallowed 3 explosive spirit pills, can easily shatter even a palace-sized boulder into powder. But the sword energy erupting from the black sword is even more terrifying. It was sharp and bloody, and instantly tore through the palm wind that was like a surging river and sea, and slashed across Li Yulan's body. Boom. The amazing internal force dissipated from both sides, and the stone house suddenly became a ruin. Large pieces of bricks and stones were directly shaken into powder, and a deep sword mark was cut on the ground. Such a battle was really terrifying. Wei Hong narrowed his eyes slightly, flashed back, and turned around without hesitation and disappeared into the night. When the people around heard the noise and gathered around, he had already quietly left the place of right and wrong. Although he felt very sorry for not touching the corpse, he solved a big problem after all. This battle took only 10 breaths from the outbreak to the end. The masters of the refining realm who were resting in the stone houses at the bottom of the Shenjianitun cliff saw the mess on the ground before they figured out what was going on. Even this matter alarmed the garrison. What's going on? Who started the fight? Damn it, why is there so much noise? Isn't this the house of old lady Li from the Kunshan faction? Look, there are dead people. I don't know how many of them are dead. Tisk tisk tisk, who is the tough guy who can kill people in Li Yulan's house and escape unscathed? What a troubled time. Everyone pointed and talked. The garrison soldiers quickly surrounded the place. A middle-aged man dressed as a general came forward to check, and his face suddenly changed, because there were 7 corpses under the ruins of the stone house. Among them was Li Yulan's body. The two of them fought in a flash, and Wei Hong shattered the internal force tide she had sent out with one sword, and the sword energy also crossed her body. Now she has been split into 2, all kinds of internal organs and blood are scattered all over the ground, and half of her face is still covered with creepy fear. Obviously Li Yulan didn't figure it out until her death. Why couldn't she resist the opponent's sword after swallowing 3 explosive spirit pills? She didn't expect that this sword was the power accumulated in Wei Hong's sword, which was enough to make him burst out more than 10 times the power. It is not known whether this sword can deter the Xiantian realm. But it is more than enough to kill her. Li Yulan has been domineering for half her life. Who would have thought that she would die inexplicably at the hands of a young man when she was old? Anyone can't help but sigh that the waves behind push the waves in front. 4 people from Kunshan School, plus 3 members of the Jiangnan 5 Prefectures Mutual Aid Association died here. The middle-aged general frowned and glanced around, and asked, "Who of you saw the battle just now?" 7 died? Damn, this is the Xiantian realm taking action, right? My stone house is not far away. From the time I heard the noise to the time the stone house collapsed, it took less than 10 breaths. How could 7 people die at once? I saw the figure of a black-faced man leaving. It seems to be Lu Daniu from their own association. What? Lu Daniu? Everyone was surprised and disgusted. Soon, someone made way for him, and a dark-faced man was pushed to the front. It was Lu Daniu, who was the first to leave and was finally chosen by Wei Hong to disguise himself. Facing the eager eyes of the crowd, Lu Daniu was immediately frightened and sweaty. He argued in panic, "It has nothing to do with me. I didn't do it." Chapter 306, People are in panic and have far-reaching plans. In Shenjian Yuan, private fighting and killing are not illegal. As long as they are not fighting on the main street or in front of the barracks, the garrison troops will not care about these things. But today's situation is a little different. 7 masters of the refining realm were killed in a very short time. This is not an ordinary event, and it easily aroused everyone's thoughts. Whether it is the garrison officers or the masters of various small groups, they all want to find out who this person is, for fear that they will become the next person to die unjustly. Therefore, the dark-faced man Lu Daniel was stared at and felt hairy all over his body. He hurriedly began to explain, "Everyone, I am just a casual person in the middle stage of the refining organ realm. I don't even have a decent magic weapon. How can I kill 7 people in a short time? Li Yulan is at the peak of the refining organ realm. She can almost kill me." "Not necessarily. What if you poisoned him?" "Yes, haven't you been very close to the Kunshan sect recently? There is a chance to do it." "Yes, if you poisoned him first and then made a fighting scene, you can get away smoothly." Everyone was talking about suspicion, and it was obvious that they were unwilling to let any suspect go easily. Since someone saw him, Lu Daniu's suspicion would definitely not be so easy to clear. "It's really not me," Lu Daniu said helplessly. "Tonight, Vice President Li summoned us to a meeting to discuss the disappearance of dozens of people in the mine tunnel. She suspected that it was Zhao Zilin who was wanted last time, so she forced us to fully support the Kunshan school. I didn't want to wade into the muddy water, so I got up and left." Taoist Yan Yunzi and Senior Li Shuang were there at the time. "Yes, that's right. We can testify." A man and a woman walked out of the crowd. They were the ones who left the stone house with Lu Daniu just now. With their testimony, it means that Lu Daniu is not the murderer. It is likely that the murderer disguised himself as him and assassinated Li Yulan and others. Thinking of this, everyone couldn't help but get horrified. Being able to hide from the fiery eyes of 7 masters of the refining organ realm and appear in front of them and kill people, it can be seen that the other party's disguise is absolutely superb. In other words, the murderer is likely in the crowd. The other party may change into someone else at any time and aim the butcher knife at the next victim, so how can everyone not panic? You mean, Li Yulan suspected that Zhao Zilin, whom she wanted before, was related to the missing case? Ning Wuchen, a Xiantian realm master with white hair and a youthful face, frowned and asked. The others also grasped the key point instantly. Yes, how could this matter be related to the stray dog who had been hiding for several months? But Li Yulan was killed as soon as she suspected it. What kind of hatred or grudge is worth such a cruel hand? Could the murderer really be this Zhao Zilin? Don't say, it's very likely. Damn, what kind of enemy did Kunshan sect provoke? It's so fierce. Good guy, our people were not killed because they recognized him in the mine tunnel. Everyone talked one after another, and suddenly felt that this possibility was very high. All pairs of eyes looked at Zhang Yuanke of Wandu sect strangely. Vice President Zhang. Ning Wuchen asked coldly, I heard that you are very familiar with this person. Not very familiar. Zhang Yuanke said with a smile, I have been in the martial arts world for decades and I know countless people. Does Senior Ning want me to take the blame? Of course not. Ning Wuchen pretended to be helpless inside. It's just that Zhao Zilin is a member of our Jiangnan 5 Prefectures Mutual Aid Association, and the 7 people who died this time are also the same. If there is no explanation, it would be bad, right? How can we easily intervene in other people's grievances? Zhang Yuanke asked back, does Senior Ning have the means to pull him out? Ning Wuchen fell silent again. He looked at Zhang Yuanke deeply, turned around and left. Seeing that there was no excitement to watch, the others gradually dispersed, but many people looked at Zhang Yuanke with a little more awe and fear in their eyes. After all, no one would believe that he didn't know Wei Hong's nonsense. Being able to interact with such a strong man, the foundation of the Wandu sect is really not to be underestimated. Moreover, the Kunshan sect was in a competitive relationship with the Wandu sect. Now that the sect was directly destroyed, it was self-evident who would benefit. So far, the Wandu sect will become the actual helmsman of the small group of Jiangnan 5 Prefectures Mutual Aid Association. Ning Wuchen has never liked to manage mundane things. Who can stop them after Li Yulan's death? Could it really be him? Nai Sanyang asked in a low voice. Zhang Yuanke shook his head silently, I don't know. There is no trace of poison left at the scene, and the traces of the battle have been buried by the ruins. It can only be seen that the murderer is good at using swords. I feel it should be him. Nai Sanyang said with a strange look, if he hadn't saved me in the mine tunnel some time ago, I'm afraid I would have been swept into the magic fog tide and died. Now that he has destroyed the Kunshan sect, we can be regarded as a favor. Yes. Zhang Yuanke sighed and smiled bitterly again. In his heart, he was secretly glad that he had made friends with Wei Hong, a younger generation with unlimited potential, in Luotian that year. He was not only a rare genius in poison, but also a mysterious martial arts genius. Li Yulan's strength is top-notch under the Xiantian realm. If he didn't use mixed poison, he would be killed by the old witch in less than 3 moves. It's really horrifying to think that such a person was killed in a short time. Zhang Yuanke shook his head and didn't think much about anything else. He let the garrison clean up the scene, collect the bodies and bury them, and he waved his hand and returned to the stone house of the Wandu sect with Nai Sanyang and others. He was about to say something when he entered the door, but he saw an extra map on the stone table. What is this? Zhang Yuanke's face changed and he couldn't help but be alert. He didn't remember that there was any map on the stone table before he left. Who came in just now? You know, his stone house was poisoned. The air is full of mixed poisons. Who dares to break in except the Wandu sect? Unless it's him. Zhang Yuanke thought of Wei Hong and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. He picked up the map and found that there were 6 locations marked on it, and 3 names were written on the side. What does this mean? Nai Sanyang was puzzled. This kid. Zhang Yuanke laughed dumbly, he was here just now. The location of the rich mine that was just found should be marked on this map, and he plans to use 3 fake identities to record them in the name of our mutual aid association to earn points. Smart. Nai Sanyang exclaimed, in this way, our mutual aid association will have the income from the rich mine, and he can steadily draw a portion of points, which is much better than mining by himself. Haha, no wonder this kid wants to wipe out the entire Kunshan sect. He is really far-sighted. Zhang Yuanke laughed sinisterly. There is no need to say much when smart people communicate. Wei Hong destroyed the Kunshan sect and let him hold power in the Mutual Aid Association, so he must secretly earn points for the other party. This is a mutually beneficial thing, no loss. Chapter 307, Choice between the two major schools in the Xiantian realm. The next day, in the secret room of the mind tunnel, Wei Hong sat cross-legged on the golden silk cushion, with several booklets and a pile of bottles and jars in front of him. This time he not only solved the troubles of Kunshan sect, but also completely solved the troubles of being hunted down. At the same time, he also exchanged for a lot of cultivation resources. It must be said that it was indeed a happy thing. In addition, he also gave Zhang Yuanqi a map with rich mines marked on it. I believe that with the other party's shrewdness, he naturally understands what it means. In this way, Wei Hong doesn't have to work hard to mine. He only needs to practice hard in the mine tunnel for 1 or 2 years. By then, he can accumulate a lot of points on the 3 fake identities, enough to exchange for the Immortal Order and leave Shenzhen alone. Wei Hong has never been a greedy person. 3 Immortal Orders are enough to bring relatives to the world of cultivation, so once he gets them, he will choose to leave and will not stay in this unstable place anymore. After all, who knows if there will be other dangers in Shenzhen? He still understands the principle that a gentleman does not stand under a dangerous wall. We must break through to the Xiantian realm as soon as possible. Wei Hong silently opened the booklet in front of him. This detailed explanation of Xiantian realm cultivation is a note from predecessors, summarizing and recording a large number of difficulties in cultivation in the Xiantian realm. As long as you study it thoroughly, you can find the direction to move forward. Wei Hong has been practicing hard for half a year, relying on the power of the blood transformation method and the luxury of consuming tens of thousands of vitality every day to rapidly become stronger. Now he is close to the perfection of the refining organs realm. I believe that in just 1 year and a half, he will be able to successfully reach the limit of the refining organs realm, and then it will be a matter of course to break through the Xiantian realm. Now preparing in advance can also save some detours. Wei Hong slowly flipped through the booklet, chewing and savoring the meaning of each paragraph of text, sometimes surprised and sometimes disappointed, and soon he showed an expression of sudden enlightenment. Xiantian realm is the realm of the limit of martial arts. According to legend, as long as the muscles, bones, flesh, blood, and internal strength are tempered to the limit, you can try to inhale the evil spirit and convert the internal force into a higher level of Genki. At this time, the Xiantian realm warriors can not only control the ki to fly in the air for a short time, but also kill people with the ki when they raise their hands, and can also resist all attacks with the help of the ki. Internal force and ki are like a piece of wood and a steel plate. No matter how powerful the master of the Lianzang realm is, facing the ki defense of the Xiantian realm, it is as difficult to break through as facing a natural moat. No matter how powerful the internal force defense is, it will be broken by the ki. In short, this is an absolutely difficult gap to cross. Other realms may be able to cross the level and reverse the attack, but the Xiantian realm does not have this possibility. Only masters of the same level can deal with the Xiantian realm. After reaching this level, the warriors have long been pure, full of ki and blood, flawless, and their lifespan can reach 150. However, there are 2 types of Xiantian realm masters. One is to imitate the ancient warriors and strive for power in order to obtain more powerful lethality, even at the extreme of hurting themselves. The other is the health-preserving exercises created by the predecessors who realized that the road of martial arts has reached its limit and are eager for the immortal way. This type of Xiantian realm technique is gentle and nourishing. It is not as powerful as the other type in fighting, but it can be more smooth when it comes to cultivating immortality. When the Genki is swallowed by the spiritual energy, there will be no resistance. In ancient times, there were body cultivators who used Genki to temper their bodies and tore monsters with bare hands, and they were on par with the ki cultivators. But now the way of body cultivation has long been withered and broken, even the Xiantian realm techniques are mostly incomplete. Going the way of body cultivation is a dead end. It is difficult to reconcile Genki and spiritual energy, no wonder they will eventually take 2 completely different paths. Wei Hong sighed with emotion. In the end, he couldn't help but think about it. Which path should he take? This time he exchanged 3 Xiantian realm techniques. Although they are all Zhuan level techniques, they are all complete techniques, not incomplete. In this way, as long as he reaches the limit of the Zhang refining realm, it will be easy to break through to the Xiantian realm. According to Wei Hong's previous personality, he would definitely choose the most powerful martial arts. But since the road to martial arts has been cut off, if he wants to switch to immortal cultivation, it is best to choose a milder martial arts, Otherwise it will easily create shackles for himself in the future. Therefore, Wei Hong thought for a moment and made a choice. He wanted to practice Tai Shenggong, which is the mildest of the three martial arts. It emphasizes health preservation and longevity. The power is much worse than other martial arts. However, it is said that if you practice it to the limit, you can live 10 or 8 years longer than those who practice other martial arts. There are still some advantages. I don't care about lifespan. Just add as much lifespan as you want. Immortality is not difficult. It's okay if it's less powerful. After all, the Xianshan realm is just a transition for me. I will go to the immortal world in 1 or 2 years. Key training is the kingly way. Wei Hong silently comforted himself. He didn't want to restore the glory of body refining and walk a long-lost road. Wouldn't it be stupid not to take the broad road? As for the fact that Tai magical skill is less powerful, it doesn't matter. Anyway, the weakest Xianshan realm can bully the Lianzhang realm. After reaching the Xianshan realm, the strong people of the same level rarely fight each other. Wei Hong just needs to continue to survive and wait until he reaches the Xiuxin realm. At worst, he still has the trump card of poison. Anyway, as long as he breaks through to the Xianshan realm, he will not be afraid of anyone in the land of Dazhou. Even if he is surrounded and killed by a bunch of Xianshan realm, he has the ability to kill them back. Therefore, he made a decision silently. Next, continue to stay in the mine tunnel and practice hard, hunt blue-striped fire spirit ants every day, and try to break through the Xianshan realm within half a year. Wei Hong put away the booklet with satisfaction and quickly set the next development plan. If nothing unexpected happens, I believe that it won't be long before he can officially enter the Xianshan realm and become the top and most noble group of people in the Xin domain. No one in the world will be able to do anything to him. Next, Wei Hong summoned the black sword again and looked at it carefully for a while. This sword is really strange. The power it unleashed when it killed Li Yulan before even frightened him. It is indeed one of his hidden means. If he breaks through to the Xianshan realm, will he be able to store stronger power? Before, I just stored the power of Qi and blood, and it transformed into terrifying blood-colored sword energy. What if I input internal force? Wei Hong pondered curiously and tried it decisively. His surging internal force slowly entered the black sword, and suddenly it disappeared as if it had entered a bottomless pit. The black sword also seemed to be activated and began to actively extract internal force. Boom boom boom. The amazing tide of internal force followed the meridians to the palm, and then was continuously absorbed by the black sword. In less than 10 breaths, his Danshan internal force was sucked dry. Awesome. Wei Hong secretly smacked his lips. I want to test your limit. After saying that, he began to use the blood transformation method to transform internal force and continue to supply it to the black sword for absorption. Chapter 308, The Devil Fog reappears, and the immortal cultivators suppress it. Once the Danshan internal force of an ordinary warrior is empty. If you want to recover, you must meditate slowly. Even with the help of key restoring pills, it will take 1 or 2 hours to refill the internal force. But Wei Hong doesn't need to waste time like this. He relies on the method of transforming blood into internal force, and then replenishing blood with vitality. He can continuously transform the surging internal force to replenish himself. In this case, why doesn't Wei Hong try the limit of the black sword? He squeezed his potential again and again, constantly transmitting internal force into the black sword, allowing it to store and compress the internal force. Gradually, the black sword seemed to contain a more amazing sword energy. It was slowly getting stronger, and the pressure became more and more terrifying, just like a peerless swordsman who was constantly accumulating power, which could make people creepy invisibly. Compared with the sword energy accumulated by absorbing blood, the sword energy transformed by absorbing internal force is purer, and it has the unique sharpness of Wei Hong Zhangjin refining Zhangju, making this sword energy more sharp. After repeatedly draining the Danshan 10 times, Wei Hong found that the sword energy was finally completely formed, and he could no longer continue to draw internal force. Only then did he secretly breathe a sigh of relief. I wonder how strong this sword energy, which condensed 10 times the internal force of his Danshan, will be once it bursts out? Under normal circumstances, my full strength attack can only consume 1 or 2/10 of the internal force in the Danshan. Even if the meridians of my whole body are damaged, it can only output 30% at most. The black sword condenses into sword energy with 10 times the power of my Danshan. In theory, It is at least 30 to 50 times more powerful than my full strength attack. No, 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 you can't count it like that. The sword energy is more condensed. It has long transcended the realm of 1 + 1 = 2 and reached a higher level. I'm afraid that even ordinary Xiantian realms can't withstand it with one sword. After Wei Hong's analysis, his eyes suddenly brightened. He was sure that the power of this sword was definitely more than 10 times stronger than when he killed Li Yulan before. 10 old witches would die with one sword, and even Ning Wetschin might not be able to stop it. Such a trump card is considered fierce. Wei Hong's sense of security suddenly exploded, and his tense heart gradually relaxed a lot. Now he is not the stray dog that was hunted down when he first entered Shenjianen. He has the ability to protect himself, and he has the confidence to overturn the table with anyone. Huh? Wei Hong smiled with satisfaction. After spitting out a breath of waste gas, he raised his hand and poured out 3 or 4 or 5 internal organs pills and threw them into his mouth, and began a long and tormenting practice. The road to strength is destined to be accompanied by loneliness and hardship. In this small secret room, ordinary people will feel dizzy after staying for 3 or 5 days, and will be depressed to the point of madness within 7 or 8 days. But Wei Hong is happy in this environment, and gradually falls in love with the feeling of becoming strong alone. Although he has only practiced martial arts for 3 or 4 years, he has suffered hardships that ordinary people have never suffered in their lives, and has reached the peak that ordinary people cannot reach in their lives. All this is what he deserves. Time, every minute and every second passed. Wei Hong was immersed in hard training and couldn't extricate himself. Several days passed in a flash. Except for eating some dry food and drinking some water occasionally, he spent the rest of his time practicing silently. With a continuous cycle of Danshan's internal force growing, he was close to the perfection of the refining state again. Just when he was about to break through this small state, a burst of heartbeats came into his ears again. Oops. Wei Hong's face changed drastically and he quickly stopped the breakthrough. He had already experienced what it meant to hear a heartbeat in the mine. He could not forget the magic fog tide a few months ago. He didn't expect to encounter it again so soon. He glanced outside the secret room and saw that the mine tunnel outside was already covered with the black fog. A terrifying and gloomy feeling once again crawled over his body. Don't panic, with my current strength, nothing should happen. Wei Hong silently comforted himself. He knew that the magic fog tide was just controlling people with the sound of heartbeats. As long as he silently recited the Kingxin mantra, he would be able to get through it. The heart is as clear as water, the water is the heart, the breeze is calm, the waves are not startled. Sitting alone in the bamboo forest, whistling and playing the zither, entering into a state of meditation. Wei Hong looked at his nose with his eyes, and looked at his heart with his nose. Wu Zhenjiao Yuan narrowed his eyes slightly, and silently recited the formula of the Kingxin mantra. He felt a coolness echoing in his mind, and the thumping heartbeat in his ears suddenly weakened a bit. But for some reason, he always felt a little uneasy in his heart. Sure enough, not long after, the heartbeat became louder again, and it seemed to be several times stronger than the last time, so that Wei Hong's consciousness could not help but be in a trance, and his heartbeat was also beating with a rhythm. No. Wei Hong clenched his fists and frantically stimulated the blood and qi, and his heart beat violently, abruptly interrupting this rhythm. Although he didn't know what would happen if the rhythm was synchronized. But he expected that the result would definitely not be good, so while silently reciting the Kingxin mantra, he had to distract himself to control his heartbeat. For a while, fine beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. With his head dizzy, he almost stood up uncontrollably and headed for a mysterious place. His heart couldn't help but respond to this call. Wei Hong cursed inwardly and bit his tongue without hesitation. A sharp pain and the sweet smell of blood made him sober up a lot. He found that he underestimated the unknown existence in the cave stone forest. No wonder even the blue-veined fire spirit ants were afraid of them. Who could defend against such a weird method? I'm afraid that many people in the mine will suffer again this time. It's only been a few months since the last outbreak of the magic fog tide. Why is it so frequent? Isn't something big going to happen? Just when Wei Hong was confused, a burst of shouting suddenly sounded from the depths of the mine. Evil creature, dare to show off? Do you really think I'm made of mud? After that, a sound of fighting that shook the earth came. There was a rumble in all directions, and even the ground was shaking constantly. Many mine tunnels began to collapse, and even the secret room dug by Wei Hong was rustling and falling mud. Oops. Wei Hong stood up and rushed out without thinking. Needless to say, it must be the immortal master guarding Shen Jianyun who personally went to the cave stone forest to suppress the evil spirits, which led to the outbreak of this earth-shaking fight. As the saying goes, when immortals fight, mortals suffer. Wei Hong originally planned to practice in the secret room for another year or two, but who knew that he would encounter such a mess and could only run out in the chaos. He didn't want to be buried underground for no reason. He didn't want the immortal cultivator to lose his life inexplicably in the aftermath of the battle. So naturally, he rushed out madly, so fast that he almost turned into a residual image. Maybe because of the battle, the heartbeat in his ears had disappeared, and the black fog in the mine tunnel was much thinner. A large number of people who were controlled also woke up. After everyone came to their senses, they all ran out like Wei Hong without caring about their lives. For a while, the whole mine tunnel was in chaos. Chapter 309 The Grey-Robed Old Monk and the Demon-Suppressing Formation. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Get out of the way, all of you, get out of the way. The mine was in chaos. One warrior after another rushed out desperately, fearing that they would be buried in the collapsed mine. Wei Hong raised his hand and wiped his face, and then he changed his appearance into an ordinary middle-aged man. He rushed out of the mine in the crowd and returned to the bottom of the cliff of Shenjianun, but did not attract anyone's attention. The entrance of the mine. Thousands of people have gathered at this moment. Not only did the masters of various small groups gather here, but even the garrison troops rarely went out in full force, and pairs of eyes looked at the mine in horror. The ground inside was shaking and rocks collapsed. There were bursts of roars and screams in the rolling thick black fog, and from time to time there was sword energy breaking through the rock layer, slicing through the void, which looked extremely terrifying. Wei Hong secretly thanked himself for escaping from the mine decisively. If they still hide in the secret room and try to get away with it, they might be pierced through the head by the sword energy if they are not careful. At that time, there will be no place to complain, and they will die in frustration. Damn it, didn't the magic fog tide just erupt some time ago? Why did it erupt again? And this time it is more fierce than the last time. Is there something wrong with the demon suppression formation? Who knows? Fortunately, the guarding immortal master took action personally, otherwise we would have been unlucky just now. Damn, why is it so difficult to mine in this broken place? Everyone cursed and talked. Everyone's face was full of fear. Everyone present was a powerful existence in the outside world. As masters at the top of the pyramid, they have always been respected by everyone for their life and death. Why did they fall to this point? Not only do they have to work hard to mine, they also have to be careful of the magic fog tide and various dangers. It's frustrating to think about it. After a period of noisy waiting, the noise in the mine gradually subsided, and the rolling black fog quickly shrank back. It was obvious that the guarding immortal master had solved the problem. After a while, an old man with a white beard and a gray robe with an immortal look slowly walked out of the mine. There was a faint fluorescent light surrounding his robe, and any stone dust that approached would be directly shaken away, making him look like an immortal. Greetings, immortal master. Everyone saluted respectfully. Even the few innate realms in the crowd did not dare to be negligent in the slightest. After all, this was a mysterious immortal cultivator. Who knows what will happen if you offend the other party? Therefore, it is always right to be more respectful. After all, in the eyes of immortal cultivators, the warriors in the Sin domain are not much stronger than ants, and everyone has no capital to be arrogant. The gray-robed old monk looked around expressionlessly, and finally announced in a cold voice, "There is a crack in the demon-suppressing formation, so that the demonic energy leaked and endangered the mining area. I have reported it to the sect, and a formation master will come to repair it soon. But before that, the demon fog tide will erupt frequently, and it may even affect the entire mining area. For the safety of everyone, in the next few months, except for the garrison troops and menials, all other people in the mining area must assist me in guarding the formation." Everyone was stunned when they heard this. What does guarding the formation mean? Can they still help? This is the method of immortal cultivators. How can everyone understand it? Master. A swordsman in a green robe asked respectfully, "I wonder how you want us to help." Not difficult. The gray-robed old monk raised his hand and waved. Dense spots of light immediately appeared above Shen Jianyun, and they connected together to form a huge formation. It is profound, mysterious, and breathtaking. Everyone felt like they were in a cage, as if they would be ruthlessly killed by the formation if they made any unusual movements. From now on, at noon and noon every day, everyone must sit cross-legged under the formation to practice, replenishing the loss of the formation with their own essence and internal energy, and persist until the formation master from Kingayan sect comes to help. Do you understand? The gray-robed old monk spoke coldly, and everyone gasped in shock. Everyone is not a foolish young man. Although they don't understand the methods of the immortals, it is clear that they are treating everyone as nutrients to supply the formation, and it may even damage their essence and lifespan. Who would be stupid enough to really agree? Master, this is not appropriate, right? We mortals have low abilities, how can we help the immortals? Yes, Master, you should find another way, this method is not appropriate. Several rough-looking beady men were the first to refuse unhappily. The gray-robed old monk's eyes flashed, and a token suddenly appeared in his hand, and then the formation suddenly lit up. Shoo! Thousands of sword keys suddenly fell from the sky, attacking the crowd like raindrops. This scene came so fast and so violently that many people had not yet reacted, and more people retreated desperately. But only the few people who spoke just now could not move. They were like being controlled by something, staring with horror and wanting to wail for mercy, but the next moment they were drowned by the tide of sword ki. Boom! A loud roar accompanied by bursts of smoke and dust. Several people instantly turned into pools of blood and flesh residue. After the sword ki dissipated, a deep pit appeared on the ground, severely shocking everyone present. Hiss! Everyone took a breath of cold air. Even Wei Hong couldn't help but feel numb and sweaty. Is this the method of a cultivator? It's really terrifying. He couldn't help but take it in. He found that if he was locked just now, there was really no way to escape. Even if he used the black sword, there was no hope of resistance at all. Compared to the warriors who only have fists, feet, swords and knives, the methods of the immortal cultivators are obviously more advanced and powerful. No wonder even the Xiantian realm dare not act presumptuously in front of the gray-robed old monk. Every day at noon and noon, except for the garrison troops and the menials, everyone must sit cross-legged under the formation to practice, and use their own essence and internal energy to replenish the loss of the formation, and persist until the formation master of Kingayan sect comes to help. Do you understand? The gray-robed old monk repeated it again. Yes, I will obey the order of the immortal master. Everyone was full of frustration but had to pretend to be submissive. No matter what elders, clan leaders, or princes and nobles they are in the outside world, they are just ants that can be crushed to death in the eyes of the immortal cultivators. A few beady barbarians have paid the price for not knowing whether to live or die, so how can everyone dare to act presumptuously? Now, let's start. The gray-robed old monk flashed and appeared 100 feet above the mine, on a platform on the edge of the cliff, threw out a cushion and sat cross-legged on it, silently staring at everyone. If anyone tried to be sneaky, the cultivators would surely see through it, so no matter how reluctant they were, they had to sit cross-legged on the ground with bitter faces. Wei Hong found a secluded open space and sat down quietly, closing his eyes and starting to practice. Chapter 310, Retreat, the situation worsens. Boom! The sound of waves and raging waves rose and fell at the bottom of the cliff of Shenjinun. As everyone began to practice seriously, the sound of various internal forces roared and boiled like the waves of a river, and many people could faintly hear the roar of dragons and tigers. More than 1,000 masters of the refining organ realm practiced together under the supervision of the garrison soldiers and the gray-robed old monk. This scene is probably rare in 100 years. Even Wei Hong couldn't help but be secretly surprised. He didn't feel relieved and bold to use all his internal force. Instead, he controlled the speed and ran the skills slowly, showing that he was indistinguishable from everyone else, trying not to be too high profile. Quick! Seeing this, the gray-robed old monk finally activated the formation again. This time, there was no thousands of sword ki. The formation shrouded the sky above Shenjian and began to operate slowly, and suction began to cover everyone from all sides. The internal force in everyone's danshan was frantically extracted. They began to merge into the formation through the meridians and skin. For a moment, many people were frightened and their faces turned pale. After they came to their senses, they hurriedly swallowed pills to replenish their internal strength. Hiss! Wei Hong secretly took a breath of cold air. He was also sucked a lot of internal strength at this moment. Although this suction force is not as fierce as the black sword, the formation not only extracts internal strength, it also extracts invisible essence and vitality. Wei Hong opened his eyes and glanced. He could clearly see that strands of blood, gray, and white ore were being sucked away from everyone. Internal strength is still secondary. If it is used up, it can be replenished with pills. However, once the human body's essence and spirit are exhausted, it is not easy to replenish. At the least, it will make people tired and exhausted, and at the worst, it will directly reduce their lifespan. What kind of formation is this? It is so evil that it has to use everyone's lifespan to fill it in order to achieve the effect of suppressing the evil spirit? Wei Hong's face changed again and again, and he had secretly calculated his way out in his heart. If it was just to extract some eternal strength and essence, he would not care. Anyway, he had millions of life forces to rely on, so no matter what, there would be no loss. At most, he would just play a show with everyone. But if this matter was not so simple, and the old monk in grey robe had other plans, and even threatened everyone's lives, Wei Hong must have a way to deal with it. After all, he didn't want to die here early. Once the situation deteriorated, he naturally had to have a way out. Wei Hong pretended to stuff a few pills into his mouth, while pretending to be sweating and trying to resist the suction, but his mind was flying, and he was secretly calculating. The possibility of escaping from Shenjian head-on is almost zero. Not only is there a garrison guarding here, but there is also a 1,000-foot cliff as a barrier. It is 100 times more difficult than the prison of the Ministry of Justice. Anyone who moves will be strangled by the formation controlled by the cultivator in an instant. But there is no perfect cage in the world after all. Wei Hong suddenly thought of the underground river, one of the 3 forbidden areas in the mine. The underground river leads in all directions and no one knows where it leads to. There are also terrifying creatures lurking in the dark river water. Normal people dare not step into it casually. But if you really encounter a desperate situation, I am afraid that you can only fight through the underground river and try to leave here from the river, right? With my swimming speed and breath-holding ability, as long as I am careful, I may not be unable to escape from here from the underground river. But the underground river is full of dangers. As long as I am not in a desperate situation, I will never step into it. At most, I can hide in the mine tunnel first. When Wei Hong was thinking wildly, the suction of the formation became more and more fierce. Many people's faces were pale, and the action of swallowing the elixir never stopped. Even Wei Hong's Danshan internal force had been consumed by a small half. You must know that only one stick of incense has passed at this time. If they are sucked for 2 hours every day, I don't know how many people will be sucked to death. Others obviously thought of this problem. Many people were already sweating profusely, and they desperately stuffed pills into their mouths to replenish their internal strength, fearing that they would be sucked to death. Even the few innate realm masters were a little panicked at this moment. Under the formation, there is actually not much difference between the refining organ realm and the innate realm. The formation does not care about your strength. It just sucks you madly, as if it will not stop until everyone is sucked dry. Among the crowd, Wei Hong should be the calmest. Whenever he is about to give up, he just needs to add some vitality and then use the blood transformation method to replenish his internal strength. Even if a lot of his spirit is sucked away, it can be replenished instantly through vitality. Time passed by minute. There was gradually more commotion in the crowd. Many people with the lowest strength, insufficient pill reserves, or those who had hidden injuries were the first to show signs of fatigue. They were struggling to support their bodies and their bodies were shaky, and several of them almost fainted. "Master, spare me." A skinny old man with a pale face shouted, "I was injured when I was young, and now I can't hold on any longer. Master, please allow me to rest for half a day." On the high platform on the mountain wall, the gray-robed old monk had no expression on his face, meditating silently, as if he didn't hear the other party's wailing, and didn't respond at all. Everyone's heart fell to the bottom. The old man who wailed just now didn't dare to say anything more, and could only grit his teeth and continue to hold on. But he was old and his blood was declining. If he had internal strength to support him in the past, it would be better, but now that his internal strength has been gradually sucked away, he can no longer hold on. As his energy was consumed, he suddenly spit out a mouthful of black blood and fainted. "Old man Lu? Damn. Look, something's wrong." The people around exclaimed and looked over. The suction force of the formation did not stop because of the skinny old man's coma, and it was still frantically extracting. His already skinny body slowly shrank down. After a while, the old man was sucked into a mummy while twitching. It was as if he had been drained of all his blood and spirit, leaving only a thin layer of skin covering his bones. He looked as horrible as a mummy that had been dead for hundreds of years. Hiss! Everyone gasped in fear. Looking at the gray-robed old monk who was still watching coldly, everyone understood what this meant. He would not care about everyone's life or death, and they had to hold on for 2 hours. Damn, do these immortal cultivators really treat us as ants? They are bullying us like this. Don't talk nonsense. If you have the ability, you can resist. If you don't have the ability, you can hold it back. Things in the world have always been like this. Save some energy. Who has elixirs? I am willing to buy them at a high price. I am willing to pay 10 times the points. Who has Huling Dan? Everyone whispered to each other, and everyone had a look of resentment. Wei Hong looked at these distinguished masters of the refining organ realm and couldn't help but laugh. At this moment, what was the difference between them and the poor people who were oppressed by the powerful people of the Great Zhou dynasty? People still can't stop getting stronger. Otherwise, you will not be able to decide your own destiny. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 311, When the enemy comes, we will fight him. When the water comes, we will block it with earth. Time passed by bit by bit. The atmosphere at the bottom of the Shenjian cliff became more and more dull, anxious, and unbearable. Everyone felt the torture of living a year. Wei Hong glanced around and saw that everyone was sweating and pale. Even the innate realm masters could not escape the fate of weakness. Gradually, more and more people fell down and turned into mummies. 1, 2, 3, 10, 15, 20. One after another, the strong men in the refining realm fell to the ground without a sound, like garbage that had been drained of their essence. This scene made everyone terrified. You know, they are all top existences in the world. I don't know how much suffering they have suffered, how many injuries they have suffered, and how much sweat they have shed all the way from the refining skin realm. But today they died here inexplicably, and they were drained of their essence alive. How can everyone accept such a result? Fortunately, most people have some skills. Regardless of how they are suffering on the surface, they are naturally using various means to continue to persevere in private. 2 hours passed slowly. The gray-robed old monk who had been meditating with his eyes closed finally opened his eyes. He glanced at the people below indifferently, then raised his hand and waved the token to stop the section of the formation. Huh? Everyone just felt their whole body relax. The whole person completely regained freedom and began to breathe heavily, as if everyone had a serious illness. Continue at noon and PM tomorrow. The gray-robed old monk left a word and disappeared directly. Everyone was so depressed that they wanted to vomit blood after hearing this, and their faces were uglier than each other. Damn it, isn't this extracting our essence to appease the evil spirits? Isn't such a large formation too evil? Xiu Xian, this is not an immortal, it's clearly a demon. SHH. Shut up. Don't say such words again, lest you provoke a fatal disaster. Haha, more than 20 people died today. We are lucky to have survived. Everyone should think about how to survive next. Everyone whispered. The breath of despair spread in the crowd. Many people are still weak after recovering from a serious illness. How can they survive if it happens again tomorrow? How can they survive the next few months? For a while, everyone's faces were different, and they began to hurry up to adjust their breath and recover. The smarter ones endured the weakness and went straight to the barracks, and hurried to exchange various ki replenishing and blood replenishing pills. Soon the barracks were surrounded. Wei Hong did not join in the fun. It can be expected that the barracks will definitely be the most lively place next. Even the innate realm masters don't have much reserve of elixirs. In order to survive for the next few months, they will naturally exchange as many elixirs as they have points. A fight is inevitable. All this has nothing to do with him. With millions of vitality reserves, Wei Hong can survive for decades without any problem. Why would he compete with these people? But the situation is really bad this time. More than 20 people died on the first day. It is unknown how dangerous it will be next. What if the old monk in gray robes goes crazy and sucks everyone dry? Wei Hong is not afraid of the absorption of the formation. But why can he, a refining realm, not die if others die? At that time, It will inevitably attract too much attention and easily expose his golden finger, which is really dangerous. We must prepare the retreat as soon as possible. Once the situation is not right, we must run away immediately. Wei Hong sighed with a sad face. Although he really wants to get the immortal order before leaving, things are unpredictable and life is more important than anything else. If the situation really deteriorates to the point where it is difficult to control, he will definitely turn around and withdraw without hesitation. Anyway, theoretically his lifespan will not be exhausted, and living for thousands of years is not a problem, so he is not in a hurry to fight for temporary benefits. Wei Hong randomly chose a vacant remote stone house to live in. Now he definitely can't go to the secret room of the mine tunnel anymore. If he wants to continue his hard training, he can only live in the stone house at the bottom of the cliff. If he wants to prepare a retreat, he can only think of a way from inside the stone house. The stone houses at the bottom of the cliff are all built against the mountain wall. If Wei Hong wants to dig a mine tunnel from under the stone house, directly pass through the mountain wall into the mining area, and then find the underground river, it is not a difficult task. But if he wants to dig a retreat from here, he has to use a pickaxe. The surroundings are all stone houses where masters of the refining realm live. Any movement can be heard clearly. It is not easy for Wei Hong to dig a mine tunnel quietly. You can't use a pickaxe, otherwise a random knock can be heard clearly within 100 feet. You can only use your internal force to silently shatter the rock layer, and then dig with your hands. Wei Hong pondered for a moment and decided to give it a try. He groped around the corner of the stone house, raised his hand and slapped it gently. Puff! Wei Hong's palm did not touch the ground. The internal force was like an invisible shock wave, silently shattering the rock layer into powder, and it didn't make much noise from beginning to end. It's just that because of the need to control the sound, one palm can only shatter the rock layer 1 inch deep. If you want to dig a mine tunnel from here to the underground river, it is still a very large project. I'm afraid Wei Hong will have to spend a lot of time on it next. But for safety reasons, he is willing to do it no matter how hard or tired he is. After all, others who want to do this are not qualified. You have to know that most of the warriors in Shenzhen are weak now. It takes half a day to restore their internal strength. Then they have to hurry up to mine and earn points to exchange for elixirs. How many people have extra internal strength to do such a cunning thing? Dig, damn it. Wei Hong sighed and swore a curse. He continued to calm down and use his internal strength to shatter the rock layer. Then he carefully pushed the mud and sand aside and soon dug out a downward hole. As the saying goes, when the enemy comes, the general will stop it, and when the water comes, the earth will cover it. The weak are not qualified to complain about the environment. He can only silently accept all the changes happening around him and start to work hard to prepare an escape route. Fortunately, his body has already reached the point of steel and iron bones. It is not difficult for him to dig the rock layer with his bare hands. All kinds of sand and gravel are easily crushed to the side by his internal strength. In the end, he exhausted the internal strength of his danchin to dig a pit 2 feet deep. Huh? Wei Hong jumped back into the stone house. He casually sat cross-legged on the ground and silently practiced a blood transformation method to restore his internal strength. In less than an instant's of time, he was back to digging a hole. At this moment, there was a commotion outside. Some people were rushing to buy pills in the barracks, and some people were in conflict with others because of their depressed emotions. The entire Shenzhen was like a powder keg that could explode at any time. Everyone's emotions were in a tense state, and the slightest mistake would completely detonate. Chapter 312, The Netherworld Spiritual Flower. In the next few days, the atmosphere in Shenzhen became heavier day by day. The old monk in grey robes controlled the formation every day without fail, absorbing the spirit of everyone, so that people died every day. Some people tried to resist, and some people used various means to escape. But the final outcome was very miserable. Whether they wanted to disguise themselves or try to break into and escape, they would eventually be easily killed by the old monk in grey robes. He didn't even need to do it himself. The six-eyed poisonous spiders hidden on the mountain walls on weekdays could easily hunt down any fugitive, and then suck their blood and torture them to death. These six-eyed poisonous spiders were domesticated by the old monk in grey robes, the guardian immortal master. Each of them had the strength of the quasi-innate realm. The Spider King among them was comparable to the cultivator of key training, and had special tracking methods. How could ordinary warriors compare? In this way, The atmosphere in Shenzhen became more depressing. People died every day. These people were either sucked dry by the formation or driven crazy alive. Their end was horrible. While people were panicking, Wei Hong's plan to dig a mine tunnel to escape was also progressing steadily. In addition to the 2 hours of supplying the formation every day, he either practiced or dug tunnels, and quietly dug out a winding path deep into the mining area. At the same time, his strength was also increasing every day. Others were sucked weak by the formation as if they had just recovered from a serious illness, but his blood and ki were more and more vigorous day by day, and his internal strength successfully broke through to the perfection of the refining organ realm, and he was one step closer to the limit of refining organs. More than half a month passed in a flash. The underground passage that Wei Hong dug with great difficulty finally connected to the underground dark river, and the front of the tunnel suddenly collapsed, revealing a huge black cave. This cave is located in an unknown depth underground. It spans more than 10 feet on the left and right, like an ancient and vicissitudes of unknown space, which makes people feel creepy. The passage extends to the middle of the cave, and there is a slowly flowing dark river more than 10 feet below. I don't know where it leads to, and I don't know what kind of terrifying existence is lurking under the water where you can't see your hand in front of you. But Wei Hong knew it. Once the situation deteriorated to the extreme and he could no longer guarantee his safety, this place could give him a glimmer of hope. Huh? Wei Hong exhaled a long breath of exhaust gas and turned around to leave. According to his estimation, this place was far away from the remote mining area, and no one had ever set foot in the cave. He had already achieved his goal of digging a retreat, and he would not use it unless it was absolutely necessary. However, he had just taken 2 steps when he unexpectedly smelled a strange fragrance. This fragrance was very strange, very strange. It had a very amazing fragrance, but also a hint of the stench of a rotting corpse. For a moment, the stench and the fragrance mixed together. It really gave people a contradictory feeling of smelling a peony in a toilet. Wei Hong's nose has always been powerful, and he is familiar with most of the medicinal herbs and poisonous weeds in the world. He is sure that the smell he smelled is definitely something he has never seen before. Could it be a spiritual herb? Wei Hong suddenly felt a sense of anticipation. I have heard that some special ancient spiritual herbs often appear underground in the Shenzhen mining area, but these spiritual herbs are nourished by evil spirits and demonic spirits, and most of them cannot be used by ordinary people. However, spiritual herbs have always been valuable. Even if you can't use them yourself, they are definitely very precious if you trade them with immortal cultivators or bring them to the immortal world for use. Wei Hong naturally didn't want to go to the treasure mountain but return empty-handed. He searched around the cave silently, using the faint light of the green fluoride in the rock layer to check every corner inch by inch. For a long time. Just when Wei Hong's patience was exhausted, he finally saw a 3-foot-high strange flower bouquet in a very inconspicuous depression covered by stones. It couldn't see the color clearly, probably ink or gray-black. A few leaves drooped casually, and on top was a flower that looked like a flat giant mouth. This strange smell came from it. Is this the netherworld spiritual flower? Wei Hong was a little undecided. When he was reading in the Sutra Pavilion of Prince Duan's mansion, he had read many random notes. One of the ancient books recorded a rare spiritual herb. It is rumored that there is a strange herb in the abyss of the ground. It lives by absorbing evil spirits and bad luck. It is highly poisonous, and its fragrance and stench are combined. Eating it can make people sleep all year round. In addition, there is no record of its effects and whether it is useful for cultivators. I think the author does not understand it very well and just hears it from others. However, it is also known that a spiritual herb that can grow in such a place and has such a strange appearance is likely to be of great use. Based on the principle that a thief does not leave empty-handed, Wei Hong immediately decided to take it away first. No matter what its use is, it is not good to miss it. But how to pick it? Wei Hong frowned and hesitated subconsciously. The netherworld spiritual flower was not too far away from him, only a few dozen feet away. With his martial arts master-like light skills, it was easy to pick it back. But who knows if there are any hidden dangers around it? It is very close to the dark river. What if there is something guarding it under the water? Wouldn't it be a big loss if I go there? Huh? Why did I forget about you? Wei Hong thought about it and suddenly laughed. He raised his hand and took out a locust tree puppet, bit his finger and dripped a drop of blood on it, and began to wake up the ghost child with a muttered word. There are too many masters in Shenzhen, and recently an old monk in a gray robe has appeared. Wei Hong is afraid that the ghost child will be exposed to people, so he always uses special means to seal them when he has nothing to do. Now the ghost child has been awakened from his deep sleep by him. He jumped up and down excitedly, and if you don't look at his pale and ferocious face, he is really as cute as a little monkey. But before Wei Hong gave the order to let it collect flowers, the ghost child was suddenly attracted by the strange smell of the netherworld spiritual flower. It was full of surprise and desire, and turned into a ball of black smoke and pounced on the flowers. Huh? Wei Hong was surprised. But the ghost child greedily lay beside the netherworld spiritual flower, inhaling like a drug addict. It seemed that something was sucked away by it, and the ghost child became more and more ferocious and powerful. Something is wrong. Wei Hong's face was tangled for a moment, but he did not stop it, nor did he forcibly take away the netherworld spiritual flower. He just quietly released the remaining 8 ghost children. Soon, 9 ghost children surrounded the flower. They looked crazy and excited, absorbing some substance from the flower like crazy, and gradually their breath became more and more terrifying. Time passed by. The netherworld spiritual flower was withering. They seemed to be ready to devour it completely. Chapter 313. The clouds are gloomy, but the sky clears up after the rain. The netherworld spiritual flower is so attractive to ghost children? Could it be that it is a spiritual herb suitable for ghosts to absorb? Wei Hong watched the ghost children's actions with his own eyes. He probably had an inference about the use of the netherworld spiritual flower in his heart, so he had no intention of stopping them and let the ghost children continue to absorb. If the ghost children become stronger, it will be good for him. After all, with them secretly restraining in the battle of the same level, his means of killing the enemy can be more varied and fierce, which is very significant for improving combat power. After a while of waiting, the netherworld spiritual flower and fruit are gradually withering and drying up, and the strange stench in the air begins to weaken, and soon disappears without a trace. Huh? A breeze blew past. The netherworld spiritual flower was directly shattered into powder and completely dissipated in the air, as if it had never appeared from beginning to end. The 9 ghost children also completely woke up from their intoxication. There was a little more agility and wisdom in their eyes, as if they had awakened, and their faces were less ferocious, but their aura was several times stronger than before. Woo woo woo. Wei Hong made a series of calls. The ghost children stared at him with their scarlet eyes, which inexplicably gave him a creepy sense of oppression, as if they were going to tear him apart in the next moment, and their fangs and claws even emerged. But perhaps it was the long-term domestication and torture. The fear of Wei Hong in their hearts gradually overcame the bloodthirsty impulse, so even though they were much stronger now, they finally suppressed the impulse to resist and scattered to his side and crawled. You are still a little smart. Wei Hong snorted coldly and took them back into the locust tree puppet. He was about to continue to use the ghost control technique to seal their aura, but found that they had already fallen into deep sleep. It was as if they had absorbed too much energy and had to enter a deep level of sleep and evolution. No matter how he called them, they were silent. Interesting. Wei Hong frowned secretly, and felt that he didn't know whether to be happy or sad about what happened today. The 9 ghost children becoming stronger should be a happy event, but after absorbing the netherworld spiritual flower, they seemed to have opened their spiritual wisdom and their strength increased sharply. When they absorb and digest all the energy, they will definitely become stronger again. With Wei Hong's half-baked pseudo-ghost control technique, how can he control them at that time? I'm afraid that the ghost children won't bite him back. Forget it, let's take it one step at a time. Wei Hong thought about it again and again but couldn't think of a solution, so he could only let it go for the time being. However, when he arrives in the world of cultivating immortals, he must find a real ghost control technique to completely enslave them and recognize them as his master. Otherwise, he will be worried all day long about the ghost children's backlash, which is not a happy thing. Next, Wei Hong practiced as usual every day. The atmosphere in Shenzhen became increasingly solemn, and only he was calm because he had arranged a retreat, and he still hid in the crowd and watched the changes. But he could endure it, but the 10,000 poison sect could not endure it. Among the 5 great masters of the refining internal organs, Granny Yago was the first to give up. She collapsed on the 7th day, and her vitality was completely drained and she died. On the 13th day, another person died. In the end, only Jiang Yuanke, Nai Sanyang, and a middle-aged strong man were left to barely support the 5 people. If they had not relied on the title of Vice President of the Jiangnan 5 Prefectures Mutual Aid Association to plunder during this period, they would not have been able to hold on. At night, the three of them gathered in Zhang Yuanka's stone house, with a solemn and gloomy look on their faces. Everyone no longer had the glory of the past, and all they had was fatigue and vicissitudes. Run. Nai Sanyang said bitterly, we have used up all the points to exchange for the elixirs, and now they are almost used up. If we don't run, we will all be doomed. Run? How to run? Zhang Yuanka said impatiently, today, there are few people who don't know how to live or die and ran out. Didn't you see their end? They were killed by the six-eyed poisonous spiders in less than half a cup of tea. Hearing this, Nai Sanyang was silent again. Now there are still dozens of corpses hanging on one side of the bottom of the cliff of Shenjian. These are all the unlucky ones who tried to escape but were caught up by the six-eyed poisonous spiders, sucked their blood and hung out for public display. Now running is death, not running is also death. Such a blunt knife-cutting flesh torture is really devastating. Let's fight. The middle-aged strong man frowned and said, when the time comes, we will flee separately. If we can escape one by one, we will escape. We are the only remaining refining organ realm in the sect. If we all lose here. He hasn't finished speaking yet. Zhang Yuanka and Nai Sanyang have already looked ashen. They are not too afraid of death, but if their own death affects the Wandu sect, they will naturally be blamed. After all, it is their own sect. If they die and there is a lack of successors because of the death of the Lianzang realm, the consequences are really unpredictable. If one of the three can escape back, at least there is a Lianzang realm master in the Wandu sect, and other people can be trained to take over in the future, so they will not be bullied. Okay. Then run away. Zhang Yuanka gritted his teeth. I have thought about the retreat carefully. The cliff of Shenjian is thousands of feet high. No matter how powerful our King Guang is, we can't escape the pursuit of the six-eyed poisonous spider. The only way now is to enter the mine. Nai Sanyang and the others were full of confusion. Everyone knows that the gray-robed old monk controls the formation. What if he finds them after entering the mine? Don't worry. Zhang Yuanka took out an old map with a lot of complicated routes drawn on it, one of which was marked in red. Shenjian is like a caged purgatory. For thousands of years, it's not that no one has tried to escape. The predecessors tried to escape from the underground river and also tried to dig a mine tunnel to leave. This is a map I got by accident. It has a hidden passage marked on it. I don't know if it is feasible. But if it really comes to a life and death situation, we have to fight for it. Zhang Yuanka talked freely. Nai Sanyang and the others nodded in agreement after hearing this. It would be good if there was a secret passage to escape. If it really doesn't work, they probably can only choose the underground river. At the same time, similar conversations and scenes took place in the stone houses at the bottom of the cliff. Obviously, this storm has forced everyone into a desperate situation. I'm afraid many people have to fight with their backs to the water. But before everyone really made any movement, that night, a small boat descended from the sky and arrived at Shenjian. This was a 3-meter-long, emerald-green flying boat, as slender and exquisite as a willow leaf. It cut through the night sky like a meteor and landed in the air at the bottom of the cliff, which immediately made the desperate people ecstatic. The rain has stopped and the sky is clear. Wei Hong stood under the stone house and looked at the flying boat. He only saw a hazy figure of a woman, and finally turned into a sigh. Chapter 314 Taiyu Divine Art, Breakthrough. King Gaian sect obviously attaches great importance to the Shenjian mine. As soon as they knew about the accident in the mine, they quickly sent people to deal with it. Wei Hong didn't know how it was handled specifically. Ordinary warriors were not worthy of making friends with immortal cultivators. He only knew that the woman on the flying boat and the gray-robed old monk entered the mine cave for a cup of tea, and then leisurely controlled the flying boat to leave after coming out. The gray-robed old monk looked slightly relieved, and immediately announced that the demon-suppressing formation had been repaired, and officially lifted the fixed practice of 2 hours a day. So far, the crisis was quietly past. However, this time, more than 300 of the more than 1,000 masters of the refining realm in Shenjian died, and the loss was more than 20% to 30%, which was really a pity. The retreat that Wei Hong prepared was not used in the end. Therefore, he did not have to risk his life and jump into the dark river to fight for a way out. He was very satisfied with this. Life quickly returned to its former tranquility. Everyone ate and drank as they should, and continued to mine as they should. They did not feel sad at all because many people died. As long as they did not threaten themselves, everything would be fine. Wei Hong sighed and resumed his previous practice. He did not return to the secret room in the mine tunnel to practice hard. After all, he had just experienced a tide of magic fog, and the blue-veined fire spirit ants were scared and moved to a farther place. It was not easy to find them and hunt them. In this case, Wei Hong simply lived in the stone house at the bottom of the cliff. He practiced hard every day. Relying on the millions of vitality accumulated in the past, he continued to maintain a flying speed of practice. Time flies, days and months pass by like shuttles. In a blink of an eye, another half a year has passed. Wei Hong's strength has finally reached the limit of the refining state after his hard practice every day. At this time, his danshin has been filled with internal force. A casual blow can mobilize the terrifying and vigorous internal force. His internal organs were tempered like fine steel, and he would not suffer any hidden injuries even if he was beaten and bombarded at will. He was as wild and powerful as a beast. If Wei Hong fought with Li Yulan again, he would be able to kill this old witch with one move. Even if she swallowed 3 explosive pills, she would not be able to escape death. Calculate carefully. Wei Hong has been practicing martial arts for more than 4 years, and he has reached his current realm in less than 5 years. He will officially sprint to the Xianshan realm soon. This achievement has to be said to be unprecedented. Once the breakthrough is successful, he will be the youngest Xianshan realm in the world. Other Xianshan realms must be at least 40 or 50, and there are also many people who break through in their 80s and 90s, while Wei Hong is only in his 20s. It is frightening to think about it. However, to break through the Xianshan realm, you need to absorb the evil spirit into your body. You also have to transform your internal strength into fierce Genki, so you cannot be disturbed during this period. Naturally, he dare not stay in the stone house to break through. After thinking it over again and again, Wei Hong followed the tunnel he dug and went straight to the dark river where he had picked the netherworld spiritual flower. He found a hidden place to open up a new stone chamber, and placed a large amount of poison powder at the door to feel a little relieved. If there were ghost children to protect us, it would be safer, but unfortunately these little guys are still sleeping. No matter, let's get started. Chenjianun is not a good place. Although I survived the crisis of the demon suppression array last time, if I don't break through quickly, something will happen sooner or later. Only by becoming stronger can I feel safe. Wei Hong murmured. Finally, he took a deep breath and sat cross-legged on the golden silk cushion. The underground mine tunnel is full of evil spirits. Ordinary warriors need to swallow the evil-removing pills every once in a while to ensure that they are not eroded, but this environment is the best choice for breaking through the innate realm. Tai appears for the first time, and the world is reversed. Gathering ki and danshin, nourishing the true essence. The breath circulates, and the whole body is connected. Wei Hong silently recited the Tai divine art in his heart, constantly mobilizing his internal strength to nourish his whole body. When he reached the best state, he took a deep breath, and the dense evil spirit around him was immediately absorbed into his body. This kind of evil spirit is harmful to the human body, and it made his internal organs hurt as soon as he inhaled it. If it weren't for the fact that he had cultivated to the limit of the internal organs, his internal organs would have been comparable to fine steel. I'm afraid this would be enough to make him spit blood and hurt himself. Wei Hong had expected this. He didn't panic, but slowly mobilized his internal strength to wrap these evil spirits and continuously transported them to danshin. 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 10. After each strand of evil spirit entered danshin, it would be quickly swallowed and absorbed, and gradually melted with the internal force, just like a drop of ink melting into the sea, without much reaction. Wei Hong was not discouraged and continued to absorb it with perseverance. As more and more evil spirits were absorbed, the nature of the internal force seemed to change, and gradually a hint of sharpness appeared. Time passed by minute. This breakthrough did not cause any waves. Wei Hong spent 3 days and 3 nights to finally transform the internal force in danshin into a higher level of Genki. They flowed slowly in the meridians like a surging river, and each strand carried extremely terrifying power. Puff! A strand of Genki left his body under his control, but it did not dissipate quickly like the internal force, but was like an invisible transparent silk thread, allowing Wei Hong to control it to roll everywhere. If the internal force is like water flow, Genki is like a piece of steel that can be freely shaped. It can not only exist around the warrior for a long time, but also temper the warrior's body anytime and anywhere, allowing the human body to gradually transform into the state of innate purity. A strand of Genki is probably more powerful than 100 strands of internal force. Wei Hong felt like he had an extra tentacle. After the Genki leaves the body, he only needs to push against the ground, and he can immediately float in the air for a long time. Moreover, the consumption it produces is very low, unlike the internal force that will quickly dissipate after leaving the body, and can do nothing but kill the enemy. No wonder the Xiantian realm can float in the air for a short time to fight. Ha ha ha. Wei Hong felt that he had mastered the secrets of the Xiantian realm, and for a moment he felt extremely happy, and various battle ideas had emerged in his mind. With his strength and such a powerful Genki, the fighting methods he can use will certainly be more varied, and his fighting power will also surge by thousands of times. If he could accumulate power to kill Li Yulan, who was at the peak of the refining organ realm, before the breakthrough, then after the breakthrough, he only needed to flick his finger, and a tiny wisp of Genki would be enough to penetrate the opponent's head. The gap between the two is almost like that between a giant and an ant. As long as there is no strong man in the same Xiantian realm, even if more than 1,000 masters of the refining organ realm and Shen Jianyun attack together, he can easily defeat and kill them all. Even Wei Hong only needed to stand in place and hold up his key defense to ignore everyone's attacks. Such a powerful force made him dizzy at this moment, and then he laughed heartily. Chapter 315, Use of Genki, System Upgrade. Successfully breaking through the Xiantian realm while Wei Hong was in a good mood, he also kept trying to familiarize himself with the use of Genki. Sometimes he controlled the key to float in the air, sometimes he manipulated the Genki to turn into silk threads to cut the surrounding rock layers, and sometimes he attacked the surroundings with a snap of his fingers. After a while, the rock layers around the secret room were messed up by him. Various unfathomable small holes were scattered all around, all of which were made by him casually using Genki. Only a strand of it could burst out with a power more terrifying than a bullet. If it hit a person, I don't know how exaggerated it would be. The Genki is really as violent and sharp as the rumors say, and it is not compatible with his spiritual energy at all. Wei Hong silently observed the situation in his danshin, and felt fortunate. Genki and spiritual energy seemed to be naturally repelled from each other. The few dozen strands of spiritual energy he only had have been squeezed into the corner of his danshin. If he wants to change to practicing Qi in the future, he will have to spend some effort. He was very glad that he chose Tai Shanggong, a stable and gentle Xiantian realm practice, so that the Genki he cultivated was not too violent. If you practice other techniques, you have to expel the spiritual energy directly from your danshin, and it will be 100 times more difficult to practice Qi training in the future. Huh? Wei Hong smiled with satisfaction. He felt comfortable all over at this moment, and his body was 100 times stronger and healthier than before. The Qi was nourishing his whole body all the time, almost nourishing him into a human-shaped beast. Only then did Wei Hong have time to take a look at his attribute panel, but he found that the system was showing an upgrade. Upgrade. He was slightly stunned. Will the system upgrade? But think about it, my strength has been upgraded to a new level, and the system upgrade is inevitable. I just don't know what changes will happen after the upgrade. After waiting for a long time, the system was finally upgraded, and the data on the panel quickly became much simpler. Host, Wei Hong, age 20/150, life points 1453, health points 100%, realm, first level of Xiantian realm, first level 1/100, skills, 5 elements Qi training technique, Tai magical skills, spells, remaining fragments of Kingxin mantra talent, calm mind, remaining fragments of Jiang concentrated mind talisman talent, concentrated mind, Gilyu technique talent, spiritual eyes, Guanxia technique talent, looking at Qi, magic powers, none, skills, none, hints. 100 points of vitality can increase lifespan by 1 year, 100 points of vitality can increase health points by 1 point, and 1 point of vitality can increase skill proficiency by 1 point. Wei Hong gasped in shock. What the hell is going on? Although I have consumed a lot of vitality in my hard training for more than half a year, I still have more than 1,000,000 left, right? How come there are only more than 1,000 left? And what about other skills and martial arts? Why are they not displayed? Could it be that after I broke through the Xiantian realm, my life level has changed, so that the system has started upgrading, and no longer takes the mundane martial arts and skills seriously, and simply doesn't bother to include them? The more Wei Hong thought about it, the more he felt that it made sense. It is rumored that there are 9 levels in the Xiantian realm of warriors, which directly correspond to the 9th level of key training of immortal cultivators, but one is good at physical training in close combat, and the other is good at controlling spells. In this way, he is now considered half an immortal cultivator. It is normal that the system no longer includes mundane martial arts after the life level is improved, and it is also much more difficult to increase the lifespan at this time. He originally had more than 1 million points of vitality left. It was compressed about 1,000 times in an instant, leaving only more than 1,000 points. Moreover, Wei Hong could probably guess that he would not be able to earn vitality by slaughtering pigs and sheep in the future, and it would probably be difficult to kill the green pattern fire spirit ants. In other words, if Wei Hong still wants to continue to develop, there is no future in the sinful area of the Great Zhou dynasty. Only by going out can he have better development. This is forcing me to leave the novice village as soon as possible. Wei Hong muttered with a bad taste, but he didn't react much. After all, this was expected. Shallow water can't raise a dragon. He was going to the Xiuxin world, so this change in the system would not have much impact on him, but the schedule for going to the Xiuxin world had to be advanced. After all, he has now reached the peak of martial arts. It is difficult to make progress in Shenzhen, and even in the Great Zhou divine capital, it will not be of any help. He has no choice but to leave early. Think about it all. Wei Hong directly pulled himself out of the tunnel and went to the barracks that day. He successfully exchanged the quota for leaving with 10,000 points. Now that the crisis of the demonic energy leakage of the demon suppression array has passed, the garrison will no longer prevent anyone from leaving. Anyway, with the bait of the Ascension Order, there will only be a steady stream of people in the refining Zhang realm jumping into the fire pit, and no one cares when he leaves. That night, Wei Hong found Zhang Yuanke. What, you want to leave? Inside the stone house, the other party was stunned when he heard that he had exchanged his place to leave. Are you scared? Zhang Yuanke frowned and asked. The magic fog tide has not erupted recently, and mining has gradually returned to normal. Why do you want to leave now? Have you exchanged your skills? What about the Immortal Order? If you leave now, it will be a waste of time. I have broken through to the Xiantian realm. Wei Hong blocked all his persuasions with one sentence. Without waiting for Zhang Yuanke to ask more questions, Wei Hong raised his hand and flicked it. A wisp of energy easily penetrated the ground rock layer and directly made a smooth and deep hole. Hiss. Zhang Yuanke took a breath of cold air and felt his scalp tingling. You kid. His tone was full of shock. Although he didn't know Wei Hong's specific identity and age, he obviously didn't expect such a young warrior to break through to the Xiantian realm. If the news was exposed, it would probably cause a storm, right? At least throughout the 800 years of the Great Zhou dynasty, there has never been a Xiantian realm expert under the age of 40. The youngest person in the record did not break through until he was 42 years old, and this person was a royal child who enjoyed endless resources. Wei Hong is definitely not 40 years old. Although he disguised himself as a middle-aged man all day long, Zhang Yuanke probably knew in his heart that this guy was definitely no more than 30 years old. Genius, it's a pity that you didn't join my Wandu sect, Alice. Zhang Yuanke regretted again, but since you have broken through to the Xiantian realm, it's a waste of time to be trapped here, so it's better to leave. Help me exchange for the Ascension Order. Wei Hong got straight to the point and handed over another map. There were more than a dozen landmarks of rich mines on it, and at the same time there were 3 identity bronze medals. Obviously Wei Hong wanted to leave by himself, but he also wanted to get the Ascension Order, so he was ready to ask Zhang Yuanke for this matter. Anyway, there is a share of the rich mines, and it is not difficult to accumulate 100,000 points. 3 identity bronze medals can be exchanged for 3 immortal orders. For him, he only needs to operate secretly for 1 or 2 years, which is a piece of cake. Okay. Zhang Yuanke raised his glass to say farewell. The two of them had already said everything. Chapter 316. Amidst the hustle and bustle of this world, my heart is at peace. The next day, Wei Hong traveled light, rode on the 6-eyed poisonous spider and quietly left Shenzhen, returning to the sunny forest. Shoo! He jumped up, and his body immediately soared into the air in the forest. The whole body of the strong energy leaked out, and he easily lifted himself steadily in the air, and even flew forward with the move. At this moment, Wei Hong seemed to have turned into a bird. He glided and flew freely at low altitude. Although his movements were not as agile as on the ground, it was 100 times more convenient than using light skills in the past. For thousands of years, countless people in the world have dreamed of flying freely like birds, but how many people can finally succeed? In this way, the Xiantian realm is really worthy of being called a land immortal by the world. Just the means of flying high is enough to make the people worship it, right? Good, good, good. Wei Hong laughed wantonly, and his speed was getting faster and faster. The hurricane in the air became more and more fierce. He surrounded himself with a semicircular shield of aura without any instruction, which blocked the strong wind. The whole person looked more and more like an immortal. But it was just like that. Wei Hong did not dare to be complacent and arrogant, thinking that he could be compared with real immortals. After all, he was only half an immortal. The flying speed of a real immortal would never be so slow, and the floating ability of the innate realm is not much help in fighting except for pretending. Even when people are in the air, they are very easy to become targets. So, this method can never be compared with immortals. Wei Hong secretly warned himself. Finally, he left the forest under a gust of wind and lightning. He landed on the ground to restrain his breath and walked into the small county town at the foot of the mountain calmly. It is still prosperous and lively here. Every day, there are countless people going into the mountains to collect herbs and hunt, and there are also many merchants coming and going. There are also many masters of the refining organ realm who have just arrived from other places. These people have broken through in the past year. There are millions of people in the Sin domain, and many people break through to the refining organ realm every year. Now that Shen Jianitan's reputation has spread far and wide, many people can't help but take the initiative to come to the door for the Ascension Order. They observe the situation in twos and threes, or secretly inquire about the situation, which is no different from when Wei Hong first came here more than a year ago. Hundreds of days and nights have passed in a flash. Wei Hong returned to the prosperous county town from the mine cave that had not seen the sun for many years. He was inevitably a little dazed. He ate a bowl of hot meat soup at a street stall and felt that he was completely alive. In the hustle and bustle of the world, my heart is at peace. People are always social animals. Even if Wei Hong is considered half a cultivator, he can't escape the world. He feels much better in this bustling city. He rested for a few days in the small county town, ate and drank, enjoyed and relaxed, then bought a scale-armored horse and rushed to the capital of gods. He was homesick after not returning for a long time. He couldn't wait to get home. As for when to leave the Sin domain, there was no rush. It was unknown how long it would take until Zhang Yuanka got the 3 immortal orders. Let's go home and wait for the time being. After driving for more than half a month, Wei Hong finally arrived in the capital of God smoothly at the end of March. The journey was calm and nothing happened. There were fewer bandits and chaotic troops everywhere in the past. It can be seen that the 6th prince has made remarkable achievements after taking office, bringing new vitality to the crumbling Great Zhou. This is enough to let the people of the world breathe a sigh of relief. But how long the good days can last in the end is still unknown. After many years, the capital of gods has not changed much from the past. It seems that nothing has changed, but it seems a little more strange. Wei Hong walked along the streets of Chengdu with his armored horse. He was so familiar with every shop and every brick and tile here. There were familiar neighbors in the streets and alleys. There were also many unfamiliar faces whose names he could not remember. Although he had not been back for more than a year, Wei Hong somehow felt a sense of homesickness. When he walked to the door of Wei Ji meat shop, this feeling disappeared instantly. The storefront was still the same. But Wei Ji meat shop had become Li Ji rice shop, and even the pharmacy of King Chamber of Commerce opposite had become a grocery store. Something happened. Wei Hong's face changed slightly and he walked quickly towards Wei Mansion. You have to know that the meat shop is his foundation, and King Chamber of Commerce is the hard work of his wife Yan King. If something had not happened, it would never have been changed. He didn't care much about this industry. But he couldn't help but care about the life and death of his family and relatives. As expected, when he arrived outside the Wei Mansion, he found that the once magnificent mansion had become a ruin. There were traces of burning everywhere in the mansion. I don't know what kind of hard battle it went through to become like this. Even several courtyards nearby were implicated. There were many collapsed ruins everywhere, and a large area of bricks and tiles collapsed. The whole place was full of scars and mess. Wei Hong was not panicked. He just glanced at the side as if nothing had happened, and he was relieved immediately. There were secret language graffiti left by Yanayu Tower on the corner of the street not far away, which showed that the matter had been under control, and his relatives should not have had any major problems. The mansion burned down, so it burned down. Maybe it was because the situation in the capital changed during my absence, and a new round of reshuffles was set off. In the end, I was inadvertently involved in some storm and was retaliated by others. It doesn't matter, as long as no one is fine. Wei Hong sneered and murmured, even Yanayu Tower can't protect the Wei Mansion? Interesting, I want to see how hard this iron plate is. After that, he turned around and left. He led the horse and turned left and right all the way until he finally stopped in a remote alley. He found a small courtyard that was the third to last room and knocked on the door. After a while, the door opened. An old man with a lame leg frowned and looked at him, and asked, "Sir, who are you looking for?" "Ask An Yi to meet me at the old place." Wei Hong showed a light golden token. The old man's face suddenly changed when he saw this. He looked around and saw that there was no one around before he lowered his voice and said respectfully, "I obey." After Wei Hong turned around and left, the old man dared to straighten up. He couldn't help but flash a trace of excitement and ecstasy on his face. He closed the door and released a tamed bluebird. A moment later, Wei Hong paced to the second floor of Wagayu Tower, leaned against the window and ordered a table of wine and food. While listening to the storyteller telling interesting stories in the rivers and lakes, he ate and drank to his heart's content. It only took an instant stick of time. Luan Zioki, who had changed his appearance, walked over. He glanced around and sat down at the table. He poured himself several glasses of wine and drank them before suppressing his trembling. "What's wrong?" Wei Hong couldn't help but joked, "We haven't seen each other for more than a year. Why are you so excited?" Chapter 317 Causes and Consequences, Show Your Skills. After not seeing each other for many days, Luan Zioki has changed a lot. Although he still disguises himself as a dignified middle-aged man, his eyes no longer have the innocence of a teenager, but only the vicissitudes of life. Obviously, he has experienced a lot of hardships and growth during this period. The two looked at each other in silence, but he took the lead in slapping himself. "Why is it so?" Wei Hong frowned. "Brother Wei, I'm sorry for you." Luan Zioki said bitterly, "Grandpa Wei, he is gone." "Oh." Wei Hong's hand holding the wine glass froze in midair. His eyes became extremely complicated in an instant, and finally turned into a long sigh. In fact, he had been mentally prepared for this matter. His grandfather was old and suffered a lot because of poverty when he was young. Although he tried his best to take care of his health after he became rich, he still couldn't live long. No matter how prominent a mortal is in his life, he can't escape the fate of a cup of yellow earth. Sooner or later, he and his relatives will experience separation and death. I just don't know why old Wei died. Since the masters were forcibly summoned to Shenzhen more than a year ago, the sixth prince ascended the throne and became the emperor, and the capital of the gods has been peaceful for a while. But gradually, new masters from all forces have broken through to the refining realm, and all kinds of open and secret struggles are naturally inevitable. We in Yanayu Tower have always been low-key. In addition to protecting the King Chamber of Commerce, we are mostly involved in the affairs of foreign states. Therefore, we did not conflict with any local forces at the beginning. Luan Zioki spoke with sadness and bitterness and began to tell the cause and effect. Wei Hong's face became ugly when he heard it. What does this have to do with the death of old Wei? Didn't he die of old age? If he died of old age, even if Wei Hong couldn't send him off for the last time, at least his wife Yan King would take good care of him, so he wouldn't be too regretful. But if he didn't die of old age, then Wei Hong would go crazy. "Speak, continue." He took a deep breath and silently poured another glass of wine. Luan Zioki said in a deep voice, "Half a year ago, Yan Yun of Hongyan Chamber of Commerce hooked up with the Tan family, which is now in the limelight in the court. You know that they have an old grudge with King Chamber of Commerce. They always want to swallow up King Chamber of Commerce, and we have no choice but to clash with them." Tan family. Wei Hong's face was slightly cold. This is a family that stands out among many first-class families under the 5 top families of the Great Five. It is also a not-so-small force in the capital of God. Unexpectedly, they hooked up with the 6th prince's camp early. And after the 6th prince ascended the throne, They became the new nobles in the court. Wait, Tan family. Wei Hong remembered Tan Fei, the second in command of Zhuji meat shop. Isn't this person surnamed Tan, and is he a spy for the sixth prince? When the sixth prince was defeated and fled from the capital of God, Wei Hong also broke their tracks at the water and land dock, but he didn't touch them because he didn't want to cause trouble. Who would have thought that after going around in circles, he would be related to them again? In addition, he naturally knew clearly the grievances and hatreds between Yan King and the Yan family of Hongyan Chamber of Commerce. Yan Yun, the head of the Yan family, is also Yan King's second uncle. Who would have thought that after he got close to the Tan family, he would kill his own niece? The small King Chamber of Commerce shouldn't attract such prying, right? Wei Hong frowned in confusion. Brother Wei, you don't know. Luan Zioki smiled bitterly. Since the King Chamber of Commerce provided porridge and medicine during the last plague, it has created a good reputation among the people. It is difficult for the Chamber of Commerce not to grow and develop. Although my sister-in-law has tried her best to control it, it is still expanding rapidly. In addition, with the NIU Tower escorting us from behind, it is inevitable that the Tan family behind Yan Yun will target us. Their purpose is not only to swallow up the King Chamber of Commerce, but more to take Yan'yu Tower for their own use to expand their own power. In this way, Yan'yu Tower will inevitably confront the Tan family. Although Wei Hong has been trying hard to develop Yan'yu Tower in recent years, it is obviously unrealistic for a new force to fight against an old family. The other party is now a new noble in the court, so it is inevitable that he will act in a domineering manner. Wei Hong could roughly guess without asking more questions. It was nothing more than a head-on confrontation between the two sides after some probing, which eventually led to the destruction of King Chamber of Commerce. The Wei mansion became a ruin, and finally had to retreat to Meicheng. So, Grandpa was killed in the process? Wei Hong asked coldly. No. Luan Zioki shook his head and explained, at that time, the Tan family suddenly mobilized the Ministry of Justice to surround the Wei mansion in the name of arresting the bandits. While we were fighting urgently, we protected the elderly, the weak, women and children to evacuate. The old man was not hurt at the time. It was only a few days later that he suddenly had a high fever. The doctor of Huchintang said that he was overly worried, frightened and mentally injured, and he suffered too much when he was young, so he finally. Alice. Wei Hong sighed and fell silent. In fact, the death of the old man was related to him. If he hadn't worried about his useless grandson day and night, he wouldn't have died so soon. Don't be sad, Brother Wei. Luan Zioki comforted him clumsily. There will always be such a day when people get old. The old man didn't suffer much when he was alive. Yet, Wei Hong nodded silently and said nothing more. He has been accustomed to life and death over the years. Although he feels sad about the death of old Wei and regrets that he couldn't see him off, life is like this. If he wants to take the path of immortality, he can only watch his relatives die one by one, leaving him alone. In addition, Luan Zioki hesitated to say, sister-in-law and her brothers and sisters all died in the turmoil. In addition, the old man passed away and the Chamber of Commerce was destroyed. She felt sorry for you, so she has been haggard recently. It's okay, I will enlighten you later. Wei Hong took a sip of wine and asked, how many people died in the conflict with the Tan family? How many are left in Yan'yu Tower? More than half of them were killed or injured. Luan Zioki sighed and replied, there are only more than 130 dead warriors trained in the first batch, and now all of them are in the bone refining realm. There are more than 300 dead warriors trained in the second and third batches, and most of them are now in the blood refining realm and the skin refining realm. This is a considerable force. It seems that Luan Zioki has been stimulated and is ready to show his strength. But it's a pity that the refining Zhang realm is rare. Without the refining Zhang realm, they can never do anything to the Tan family, and can only hide in the dark. Collect intelligence on the Tan family and the Yan family. Wei Hong said lightly, I will resolve this feud when I have time in a few days. Okay. Luan Zioki was very excited, but when he thought about going against a big family, he still asked carefully, Brother Wei, what is your current strength? How about we take revenge a few years later? The Tan family is highly regarded by the new emperor, and it is not easy to touch them in the god's capital. Xianshan. Wei Hong spit out two words indifferently, which immediately made Luan Zioki's face full of shock, and he couldn't recover for a long time. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, It means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 318. It's hard to leave hometown, the sorrow is short and the love is long. In March, the breeze is blowing and the path is full of flowers. There is a beautiful farm outside the city of Chengdu. There are many terraces and small attics built on the mountain. In the fields are green seedlings and hard-working tenants, which makes people feel relaxed and happy. However, there are several lowest tombs on the left side of the farm forest. A simple thatched house is built next to it. 2 women in plain white cloth live here. They farm and grow crops by themselves and guard the tombs, just like hermits who have retired to the countryside. They are Yan King and Qiuju. Buried in the tomb are naturally old Wei and several relatives of the Yan family. Grandma Wang is old and has passed away. She is also buried here at this moment. The 2 women moved here since the Wei Mansion incident. Every day, they work from sunrise to sunset and rest from sunset to sunrise. Inside and outside the farm are all the old people of the Chamber of Commerce and the dead men trained by Yan Tower, so no one disturbs them. It's just that she is too sad. Yan King has not been in good health. Simple daily labor made her face pale, and she would cough softly from time to time, and she became much thinner and lighter. Sister-in-law, it's windy today, you should go back and rest first. Qiuju squatted in front of the grave pulling weeds, her face full of concern. No problem. Yan King said softly, working a little can also relax the body. It's a pity that I am not talented enough to practice martial arts like you, otherwise I wouldn't be so delicate. It's better not to practice martial arts. I can't get married if I'm big and strong like me. Qiuju laughed and joked, Brother Wei likes you very much? Nonsense. A trace of shame and anger flashed across Yan King's pale face. But it was soon replaced by a sad look, and after a sigh, she felt even more sad. Sister-in-law, don't think too much. Qiuju comforted awkwardly, maybe Brother Wei will be back in the next 2 days. Maybe. Yan King smiled bitterly. But the next moment, the smile froze on her face, because she saw 2 tall figures walking over, one of whom was the person she wanted to see. Husband. Brother Wei. The 2 women exclaimed in low voices. Then, a delicate body fell into Wei Hong's arms. He couldn't help but feel distressed when he hugged Yan King's soft body that was almost blown away by the wind. After a long time, thousands of words turned into a sigh. Luan Zioki and Qiuju left hand in hand very tactfully. The 2 walked side by side into the distance, with waves of relief and joy on their faces. Wei Hong's return made them no longer confused and uneasy. Even if they had experienced many ups and downs, this moment seemed to be the sun after the rain, enough to make people feel at ease. Wei Hong hugged Yan King and said nothing more. He just hugged her for a long time, until he held her hand and couldn't help trembling all over, because he actually felt her unusual pulse. How could it be like this? Wei Hong frowned in shock. Why is your body so badly deficient? It's okay. Yan King comforted softly, it's just that I caught a cold these days. Wei Hong fell silent again. He is not a mediocre doctor who knows nothing. There are very few people in the world who can compete with him in medical skills. He can tell what is going on by taking a patient's pulse. Yan King's body has long been hollowed out by daily worries. She is not even 20 years old this year, but her whole body is exhausted. I am afraid she is weaker than a 70-year-old. How could she catch a cold? It is obvious that she has been worried day and night and couldn't fall asleep, and she has ruined her body. Didn't I say that I will come back alive from Shenzhen in this time, at least 1 or 2 years, at most 3 to 5 years? You must remember to take care of your health. Wei Hong sighed helplessly and said, how can such a small disturbance be so serious? Don't blame me, my husband. Yan King said bitterly, I just blame myself for being too useless. I have not been able to let my grandfather enjoy his old age, and I have not been able to protect my younger brothers and sisters. It's really. She looked at the graves faintly, and her eyes were full of regret again. Wei Hong couldn't imagine how she was torturing herself. When he came back, how could her body not collapse? Even if he had great medical skills, he could only let her live for 2 or 3 more years at most. Fortunately, he would soon enter the world of immortal cultivation. At that time, He only needed to take her with him and inhale the spiritual energy for a long time to slowly recover. If they were lucky enough to embark on the road of immortal cultivation together, it was unknown whether they could live for 1,000 years. You have suffered these days. Wei Hong took her hand and slowly knelt in front of the grave of old Wei. He said coldly, I will avenge Grandpa, and I will also avenge your brother and sister. None of the enemies can escape. But the dead are gone, so there is no need to be too sad. We mortals are like ants. We must live strong. Come with me to the world of immortal cultivation. Your body is too weak. Even if I have peerless medical skills, I can't make up for it too much. Only the world of immortal cultivation can make you completely recovered. Yan King was not surprised by this. She had long guessed that Wei Hong would not be trapped in this world for long, and would gallop to farther places sooner or later, but she did not expect it to come so soon. She did not refuse, nor did she agree. She just asked softly, how long can I live? With the inner force to calm the body, combined with soup and medicine conditioning, it will not be a problem to maintain 1 or 2 years. Wei Hong sighed and said, it's all my fault for coming back too late. If I had come back earlier, you wouldn't have such a disaster. Don't blame my husband. Yan King murmured with satisfaction, 1 or 2 years is enough. Why? Wei Hong was shocked. Don't you want to go to the world of immortal cultivation? It's hard to leave my hometown. I just hope that my husband will accompany me to complete the last part of my life, and then I will have no regrets. Yan King sighed softly. What will happen if I go to the world of immortal cultivation? What will happen if I live for thousands of years? In the end, I will become a daughter flower that depends on you, waiting for my husband eagerly while being a burden to you? This kind of life is very bitter. King doesn't want it anymore. Wei Hong was shocked, and at the same time he was very puzzled. He is a man with the world in his heart. His heart and eyes are full of strength and he wants to conquer the world. He has long been indifferent to life and death. He goes everywhere just to have a trip in this world. Yan King is a woman who likes to feel sad. She is gentle as water, sighing for a short time but feeling long. When she was young, she was spoiled by her wealthy family. After she came of age, her family encountered a sudden change and she had to support her family. She may have been tired over the years. The death of old Wei and her brothers and sisters became the last straw that broke the camel's back. If she hadn't wanted to wait for Wei Hong to come back, she would have ended her life with a white silk. How could she have the energy to accompany him to the world of immortal cultivation? It is a blessing to be able to walk together on the road of life. King has no regrets in this life. Yan King sighed freely. Wei Hong opened his mouth and said nothing in the end, but turned into a long sigh. Chapter 319 Who Dares to Bully Our Tam Mansion? After a long separation, looking back, everything has changed. Although Wei Hong is only in his early 20s, he can't help but feel a little sad and melancholy when he suddenly encountered such an accident. He settled down in the farm. Every day, he rubbed Yan King's ears and temples to relieve the depression in his heart, while using Yankee to help her recuperate her body, and then supplemented with soup and medicine to warm her body, which greatly improved her weak constitution. However, no matter how much she recuperates, it can only extend her life for 2 or 3 years. Yan King's physique is now comparable to Lin Daiyu. She sweats when she walks a few steps, and she is prone to catching cold and coughing when a gust of wind blows. If it weren't for Wei Hong's careful conditioning, I'm afraid she would have difficulty living for another half a year. The two reunited after a long separation and are better than newlyweds. It's rare to be warm in this beautiful farm, and the days are beautiful and peaceful. But the affairs of the Tan family must be resolved. Whether it is for revenge, or to kill the chicken to scare the monkey, or to ensure the safety of Yan'anyu Tower in the future, the Tan family must pay the price they deserve. Luan Zioki had already secretly investigated the details of the Tan family. A steady stream of intelligence was sent to Wei Hong, giving him a preliminary understanding of the situation of the Tan family. The Tan family has a total of 5 strong men in the refining realm, 3 of whom are unknown whether they are dead or alive in Shenzhen, and 2 are new refining realms that have been cultivated with the whole family's efforts in the past year or so. This kind of force is almost a behemoth in the entire dojo, with a foundation that is even more terrifying than the Wondu sect, and with the support of the court, it is definitely not something that ordinary people can provoke. But for Wei Hong, killing them is just like slaughtering pigs and dogs. The focus now is not on how to slaughter the people of the Tan family, but on whether the 3 refining realms of the Tan family in Shenzhen are dead or alive. If they are not dead, they will definitely come back for revenge when they hear the news of the destruction of the Tan family. If Wei Hong has already gone to the Zeuxin world by then Yan'anyu Tower will also suffer a catastrophe. So this worry must be solved. The Tan family may not need to be wiped out, but the masters of the refining Zhang realm must find a way to kill them all in order to completely solve this enemy without leaving any trouble. No matter what, let's destroy the Tan family first. As long as most of the elites of the Tan family are wiped out, they will definitely recall the masters in Shenjianun in a hurry, and it will not be difficult to kill them at that time. Wei Hong made a quick decision. Since Yan King didn't want to go to the Zeuxin world, then he would postpone his trip and accompany her through the last few years in Dazhou. Anyway, he theoretically has an endless lifespan, and he doesn't care about wasting a few years. It doesn't hurt to find something to do in such a long time. Thinking of this, Wei Hong immediately ordered the Misty Rain Tower to be urgently mobilized, and surrounded the Tan family that night. The old house of the Tan family is located in the southwest of the inner city of Chengdu. It occupies an area of a street, which is not inferior to the Prince Duan's mansion. There are various pavilions, towers, waterside gardens, which can be said to be luxurious and generous, full of the heritage of a century-old family. There are countless masters guarding the mansion both inside and outside. On weekdays, people coming and going are all powerful and noble families, and ordinary people will be checked even if they approach here, but tonight they are surrounded by people with great fanfare. Hundreds of black-clothed and masked masters lined up in a row. The streets and roofs were full of people, and pairs of unruly and murderous eyes were as terrifying as wolf cubs in the dark night. Bang! The 1,000-jin sandalwood door of the Tan mansion was directly blasted into pieces by a punch. Rows of black-clothed men entered in a row with knives, and the leaders were all wearing ferocious bronze masks. Who dares to bully our Tan mansion? A loud shout sounded, and the people of the Tan family also gathered from all directions. A large number of masters, guards, and death warriors from the main and side branches of the family drew their swords to fight, showing an amazing foundation. The head of the Tan family, Tan Honglong, walked in a tiger step. Surrounded by a group of guards, he showed his majesty and domineering, and was not panicked at all because of this sudden turmoil. After all, their Tan family had the confidence to not fear anyone in the capital. Apart from the person in the palace who personally issued the decree, they could not think of anyone who could come to their door with such fanfare. Shua shua shua. The sound of swords being drawn by both sides was endless. In a tense confrontation, Wei Hong curled his lips and said lightly, Yan'anyu Tower has come to settle the grudge. Today, Tan Mansion will be destroyed. Do you have anything to say? Yan'anyu Tower. Everyone in Tan Mansion was stunned. Obviously, many people had never even heard of the name of this organization. Tan Hong had long forgotten that he had offended Yan'anyu Tower. It was only when a middle-aged scholar whispered a few words in his ear that he suddenly realized it. So that's it, who was it I thought? Tan Hong sneered and said disdainfully, you all have a lot of people, but you want to run wild in the capital with just these few people? Isn't it a bit ridiculous? Haha. Wei Hong was too lazy to talk nonsense, and raised his hand, and more than a dozen men, women, old and young in gorgeous clothes were escorted up, including Yan Yun, the president of Hongyan Chamber of Commerce and the head of the Yan family. Since this time is to settle the grudge, they are naturally indispensable. Originally, Wei Hong was going to wipe out the Yan family, even shaking the egg yolks, but thinking that Yan King was also a member of the Yan family, it would not be good to kill them all, so he ordered people to capture Yan Yun's relatives. Old Tan, save me, save me. Yan Yun pleaded in fear, I'm just doing things for you, please don't ignore our Yan family. Tisk. Tan Hong sneered and didn't bother to pay attention. He sat down on the armchair brought by the servants, holding a cup of hot tea in his hand and slowly scraping the foam. He was not interested in the life and death of the Yan family. At the same time, he was not in a hurry to deal with the Wei Hong and others. After all, this is the capital of the gods. The longer the time drags on, the better it will be for their Tan family. He even sent people to secretly ask for help. Once the patrol camp and the Imperial Palace guards arrive, they will be able to catch all these people in one fell swoop. In full view of the public, Yan Yun and his group of more than a dozen people were beheaded directly as a sacrifice. Wei Hong glanced at the still calm Tan family with a smile, raised his hand and shook it, and the strong energy instantly crushed Yan Yun's head. The next moment, The calm Tan family members all changed their faces. Tan Hong was so frightened that he fell off the armchair, trembling all over and almost unable to stand. First? How is it possible? Today. Wei Hong shouted coldly, Yan'anyu Tower only comes for revenge, and all the people in the Tan family will be killed. Kill. Kill. Hundreds of men in black drew their swords and started killing. The Tan family, who had already been frightened, suddenly became confused. In the chaos, some people were quickly chopped to the ground. Shouts, blood, and corpses intertwined into a series of death warrants for the Tan family. The only two masters of the early stage of the refining organ realm left in the Tan family were furious when they saw this, but before they could make a move, two strong winds had already pierced their heads like bullets. Unable to withstand a single blow, Wei Hong sneered and watched from the sidelines, allowing the Yan'anyu Tower's dead men to slaughter crazily. Chapter 320, I know a little bit about fighting. As a century-old family, the Tan family has a total of 2,000 to 3,000 relatives, guards, servants, and slaves, among whom there are many powerful martial arts masters. Unfortunately, those who are inferior to the innate will eventually become ants. The two powerful people in the refining Zhang realm killed by Wei Hong are already the strongest in the Tan family at present. No matter how many more people come, they are just chickens and dogs. More than 100 people were killed in Yan'anyu Tower half a year ago. These people are all partners who train with young boys and girls every day. They are all holding back a fire in their hearts and want revenge, so they kill people without mercy. Under the crazy slaughter of more than 100 bone refining realm and more than 300 blood refining realm dead men, the Tan family suddenly became a river of blood and corpses were everywhere. All kinds of screams and wails, accompanied by corpses and broken limbs all over the ground. This magnificent century-old family immediately turned into purgatory on earth. Run, run. Tan Hong roared in panic, leading his men to retreat to the backyard in a hurry. Under his leadership, the Tan family also gathered and prepared to withdraw while fighting. There are Xianshan masters in the Misty Rain Tower. If they don't want to die, they must flee immediately, otherwise they will be wiped out in less than a cup of tea, and even the reinforcements will not be able to rescue them in time. As a noble family, the Tan family naturally has ways to deal with crises. Tan Hong was terrified but did not lose his sense of proportion. While commanding the masters to block the powerful enemy, he secretly sent people to gather the elite teenagers in the family and quickly evacuate from the secret passage. Once a noble family encounters a crisis of genocide, the first thing to do is to keep the fire first. The young people of several major branches and the main veins are evacuated in batches. The Tan family also has many secret bases and wealth storage in other places. As long as they escape, it will not be difficult to make a comeback. Hurry up, there is always a way to save the trouble. Go. All the clansmen over 40 years old, stay with me to fight. We can't let all the Tan family members die here. Run, run. As long as we escape, our Tan family will always have a chance to revive. Tan Hong and other elders in the clan anxiously roared and urged. In the chaos, many elders were madly holding back the Yan'anyu Tower's dead soldiers, just to buy time for their nephews to escape. The Tan family dug many secret passages underground. As long as they escape into the secret passages and destroy them, no one can track them. Moreover, they have 3 masters of the refining realm in Shenjian. Even if all the people here die, as long as the young people are still alive, the Tan family will not be hurt, and they will be able to make a comeback in a few years. What Yan'anyu Tower is just a new force. The depth of the Tan family's foundation is absolutely unimaginable. They will naturally have a way to retaliate later, so the Tan family seems to be panicked, but in fact they still have a sense of pride in their hearts. There was even a group of old men who were crying and wailing to hold on to the end, waiting for the Imperial Guards to come to help and then fight back. But they didn't know. The patrol camp and a team of Imperial Guards had already arrived. They stopped in the next block and did not rush to rescue. They just silently blocked all the streets around. My lord, go and save people. A young lieutenant of the Tan family stationed in the patrol camp anxiously pleaded with the commander of the Imperial Guards. How dare there be so many thieves in the capital of God? If you don't do it, our Tan family will really be finished. I can't move, I can't move. The commander of the Imperial Guards was a middle-aged skinny and strong man. He was pale and beardless, with introverted eyes. He squinted his eyes and looked at the chaos in the Tan mansion in the distance, and couldn't help but sneered. Let him go to save people? What a fart. After the new emperor ascended the throne, he was very wary of the major families. He had to rely on them and guard against them. The Tan family seemed to be relied on, but it was still a thorn in the emperor's eyes. Now that he saw the Tan family was in trouble, he should not add insult to injury. How could he dare to risk the emperor's taboo and rush over to save them? Don't save the Tan family but offend the emperor, and die without knowing how. Sir? The young lieutenant could not help but panic, and said anxiously, "Are you going to let the thieves kill people wantonly in the capital of the gods? This is the inner city. In the hundreds of years since the founding of the great Zhou dynasty, few people dare to be so arrogant, right? Aren't you afraid of the emperor's wrath?" Afraid? Of course not. The middle-aged commander of the Imperial Guards teased with a smile, but isn't it the patrol camp's job to arrest bandits? Our Imperial Guards are only responsible for protecting the Imperial City. Your Excellency can't say that. The young lieutenant persuaded anxiously, the thieves are very powerful and difficult to deal with. We can only ask the Imperial Guards to help. As long as your Excellency is willing to act quickly, our Tan family will definitely reward you handsomely. No, no, no. The middle-aged commander of the Imperial Guard sighed leisurely. I dare not accept a generous reward from your Tan family. Are you really stupid to fight with a Xiantian realm strong man? Xiantian realm. The young lieutenant gasped in shock. Obviously, he didn't believe why the Tan family would inexplicably provoke the Xiantian realm. It stands to reason that most of the world's top masters are already in Shenjianen. Now it is hard to find masters of the Lianzhang realm in the outside world. How could a Xiantian realm suddenly appear? You know, there are only 2 Xiantian realm masters in the palace. Don't disbelieve it. The middle-aged commander of the Imperial Army said solemnly, although it is far away. The other party did not restrain his breath. Just now, there was clearly a burst of Genki. There is no mistake. This. The young lieutenant shook his body and almost fainted on the spot. If there was a Xiantian realm leading the team to strangle the Tan family, it is no wonder that the situation is so bad. The huge Tan family has no resistance at all. This is God's will to destroy them. An unknown Xiantian realm took action, and the emperor doesn't care. The young lieutenant roared with reluctance. HMPH. How does the emperor deal with it? Is it your turn to say anything? The middle-aged commander of the Imperial Army raised his hand impatiently and slapped him away. His teeth mixed with blood fell to the ground, making him look as embarrassed as the Tan family. Now anyone can see that the Tan family is in trouble. As the commander of the Imperial Guards, how could he save face for the other party? It's over, it's over. The young lieutenant spat out a mouthful of black blood bitterly and sadly, and fainted on the spot. The middle-aged commander of the Imperial Guards didn't even bother to look at him again, but just stared at the front. A figure walked out slowly from the gate of the Tan mansion, as if strolling in his own garden. The bronze mask on the other side shocked everyone. From the masters of the Imperial Guards to the soldiers of the patrol camp, all were forced to take a step back by his eyes. I am Li Wuxiao, the commander of the Imperial Guards. I don't know who you are. Why are you making trouble at the foot of the Imperial City? The middle-aged commander of the Imperial Guards clasped his fists and sneered. If there is no explanation, I am afraid that today will not end well. The Poison King of Yan'anyu Tower. Wei Hong said in a hoarse voice, I came here only for revenge tonight. If you don't want to end well, this seat also knows a little bit of boxing. Chapter 321 It's difficult to get off the tiger and force Xiantian to retreat. Wei Hong has always been adhering to the code of conduct of I will not offend others if they do not offend me, or I will not offend others if I can, and he never likes to make a high profile to cause trouble. But today, he wants to make a high profile. Okay. The middle-aged commander of the Imperial Guards was obviously angered by his attitude. He sneered and bowed in the direction of the Imperial City and said, Do you think that the innate realm masters can do whatever they want in the divine capital? Do you think that the innate realm masters and immortal masters in the palace are just decorations? Heh. Wei Hong laughed undeniably. In the past, when he faced the terrifying existence of the Imperial Guards, he didn't even dare to look at them, but now he has the qualifications to fight against them. What if he openly killed people and wiped out the whole family in the divine capital? What about the Imperial Guards? What about the Imperial power? In front of the real strong, everything is just paper. Even if the innate realm masters hidden in the palace took action, it would be impossible to keep him. As for the immortal cultivators, they don't care about the disputes between ordinary warriors. Even if the Emperor of the Great Zhou wanted to ask them to take action, it would be impossible. The commander of the Imperial Army actually wanted to scare him by pretending to be a tiger. It was really ridiculous. Today, we, Yan'anyu Tower and the Tan family, only want to settle the old grudge. If no one offends me, I won't offend anyone. Wei Hong said coldly, if you like to meddle in other people's business, then I don't mind spending more time. After saying that, his whole body was boiling with Genki. The momentum spread in all directions like a mountain. The patrol camps and the Imperial Army soldiers in the surrounding streets all felt like they were falling into an ice cave. Their hands and feet were cold and their whole bodies began to tremble unconsciously, as if they were stared at by some terrifying beast. The middle-aged commander of the Imperial Army saw this and his face changed drastically. He naturally knew how terrifying the Xiantian realm was. This was the realm of a cultivator who had half a foot in his heart. Even in the face of the siege of thousands of troops, he only needed to hold up the Genki defense shield to be unscathed. Once a Xiantian realm powerhouse erupted, the surroundings would almost instantly turn into purgatory. If two Xiantian realm masters started fighting, the inner city of Chengdu would collapse by half. Therefore, the guy who called himself the Poison King of Yan'anyu Tower was really qualified to be so tough. In this way, the middle-aged commander of the Imperial Army was in a dilemma. He didn't dare to fight, but he didn't dare to let Wei Hong and others leave. He could only prepare to send someone back to the palace to report the situation with a bitter face. At this time, a figure rushed out from the darkness, and his figure jumped and moved gracefully on the eaves, and finally stood steadily on the roof of a street. The person who came was a blue-clothed swordsman. His face looked young and handsome, but his eyes were full of vicissitudes. It was obviously a Xiantian realm master who had the skill to keep his face. Dao. The swordsman in green said with a smile, isn't it appropriate to rashly draw your sword in the capital of gods? It's just a personal vendetta. Wei Hong said calmly, half a year ago, the Tan family wantonly killed more than 100 brothers of my Misty Rain Tower. This vengeance must be avenged. I just came back from Shenjian'an, so I naturally have to settle accounts with him. Shenjian'an. The swordsman in green's face changed again and again. This is a den of dragons and tigers. Wei Hong deliberately pointed out that he had just come out of here, which meant something self-evident. This was a ruthless man who had just waded out of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. The Tan family had provoked such a powerful enemy for no reason, and it was right for them to be wiped out. The blue-clothed swordsman cursed secretly, and finally forced a smile and said, since it is a personal grudge, it is reasonable to settle it with the means of the martial arts world. However, fellow Taoists should not mobilize so many troops. Wouldn't it be a slap in the face of the royal family? That makes sense. Seeing that the other party's attitude eased, Wei Hong also chuckled and said, I have not considered this matter carefully, but you can rest assured. My Yan'anyu Tower will never take the initiative to cause trouble. After this revenge, we will withdraw from the capital. That's great. The blue-clothed swordsman also breathed a sigh of relief after hearing this. Who would be willing to be an enemy of a Xiantian realm powerhouse if it is not necessary? Even if he was once a decisive hero, he had to be cautious when facing opponents of the same level after reaching the Xiantian realm. After all, which master of this level does not have a trump card? If a fight really breaks out, it is still unknown who will live and who will die. Therefore, the blue-clothed swordsman definitely does not want to fight if he can avoid it. As long as both sides take a step back to maintain dignity, it will be fine. Wei Hong insisted that it was a personal grudge, and the royal family's reputation would not be damaged, so that everyone would save face. Commander Zhu, let's disperse. The blue-clothed swordsman waved his hand and ordered. Yes. The middle-aged commander of the Imperial Guards breathed a sigh of relief, and then waved his hand to let everyone disperse. Soon, the patrol camps and Imperial Guards in the surrounding streets disappeared, and the Misty Rain Tower could move freely here. Are you satisfied, fellow Taoist? Asked a blue-clothed swordsman. Of course. Wei Hong nodded. The blue-clothed swordsman casually threw a wine goblet and said, the Poison King of Misty Rain Tower? Interesting, please drink. Thank you. Ha ha ha. The two smiled at each other, and the blue-clothed swordsman jumped and disappeared into the night, shocking the various forces that were secretly watching around. Dare to kill people at the foot of the imperial city, wipe out the entire Tan family and retreat unscathed? What is the origin of this Poison King of Misty Rain Tower? For a time, The name of Misty Rain Tower quickly resounded among various forces. I believe that it will be known to the world in no time. Although it will not become the top force overnight, it will not make people dare to provoke it casually. After all, who would dare to make an enemy without seeing the organization led by a Xiantian realm expert? This is why Wei Hong deliberately made a big fuss about it. In this way, after he leaves the Zeuxin world, it can also buy some time for the development of Yan'anyu Tower. Outsiders don't know whether he is still in Yan'anyu Tower. The name of the Poison King alone is enough to ensure the safety of Luan Zioki and others for 10 years. Retreat. Wei Hong smiled with satisfaction, turned around and walked into the darkness. After Luan Zioki waved his hand, the black-clothed warriors covered in blood disappeared into the darkness, leaving only the blood and mess in the Tan Mansion. He quickly followed Wei Hong's footsteps, lowered his voice and frowned, saying, "3 groups of people in the Tan Mansion have evacuated from the secret passage. We have already sprinkled the chasing incense in advance, and we should be able to track their location after evacuation. Do you want to send someone to follow them?" "Of course." Wei Hong sneered, "but just following is not enough. If you want to fish, you have to act more realistically. Send people to chase and kill 2 of his family members, and make sure to kill them all. In this way, they will be anxious and afraid, and will be eager to recall their own refining masters in the Shenjian, so that we can solve the last trouble." "Understood." Luan Zioki sneered and nodded in agreement. He turned around with a little excitement and disappeared into the night. "Next, I am afraid that the escapees of the Tan family will have to experience another bloody storm, and this is just a performance of the emerging Yan'anyu Tower." Chapter 322, Kill them all and catch the turtle in the jar. What? The Tan family was wiped out? Who did it? The Poison King of Yan'anyu Tower? Good man, where did such a person come from? He is even in the Xiantian realm. They are so bold to massacre and wipe out the whole family at the foot of the imperial city. Doesn't the emperor care? Care? How can he care? It's a personal grudge. How can anyone care about a Xiantian realm expert? The next day, all kinds of rumors were heard in the streets and alleys of the capital. Storytellers from major restaurants got the material and started talking about the massacre of the whole family last night. They talked about it in a very exaggerated way, which made the common people feel happy. In the Xianji Pavilion, the intelligence about Yan'anyu Tower was also raised to a very high level. People from major forces came to buy intelligence one after another. Pairs of eyes unconsciously stared at this organization that suddenly emerged. However, all this had nothing to do with Wei Hong. He still returned to the farm outside the city and lived an ordinary life with Yan King. Luan Zioki was busy chasing and killing the members of the Tan family who broke through. 2 of the 3 groups of members who broke through were surrounded and killed that night, and the remaining group was deliberately allowed to escape. These people fled to a town dozens of miles away from the capital of the gods and there. After thinking they were safe, they immediately began to contact the members of the Lianzang realm in Shenjian in a rage. On the one hand, they longed for revenge, and on the other hand, they did not want the Tan family to be expelled. With heavy losses, it was naturally necessary to recall the Lianzang realm members to take charge of the overall situation. 7 days later, 3 middle-aged and elderly warriors, exhausted from all the hardships, quietly hid back to a manor in a small town outside the capital of the gods. They were greeted by only more than a dozen young boys and girls, plus a bunch of slaves and guards. What's going on? Where are the others? The oldest of the 3, a 60-year-old green-clothed old man, was so angry that his eyes widened and his beard curled up, and he almost fainted. "Third uncle, you must avenge us. My father and mother have all been murdered." "Wow, second uncle, save us. Our Tan family is finished." The boys and girls couldn't stop crying. The 3 strong men pieced together the truth from their words, and when they knew that they were the only ones left in their Tan family, the 3 of them almost vomited blood on the spot. How is it possible? How is this possible? The old man in green looked dazed and desperate. How dare someone in the imperial city be so bold? Doesn't the emperor care? Just watch our Tan family being slaughtered? Are the imperial guards eating shit? Third uncle, the emperor may wish our Tan family to die. A boy of 16 or 17 said bitterly. The new emperor ascended the throne with the help of the aristocratic family, and he is afraid that the disaster of the aristocratic family seizing power will happen again. How can the imperial guard save us? As the saying goes, a word awakens a dreamer. The old man in green shuddered and took a few steps back. His face was pale. He obviously didn't expect that he had only gone to Shenzhen, and his century-old family would be wiped out. It was God's will to destroy them. Why did you provoke Yan'an Tower? The old man in green gritted his teeth and roared, Tan Hong, this idiot, ruined my Tan family's century-old foundation. He deserves to be cut into pieces. Uncle San, what should we do now? Asked the middle-aged strong man on the side. Don't panic, don't panic. The old man in green took a few deep breaths and said seriously, there is a Xiantian realm expert in the Misty Rain Tower. We can't easily move the other side. We can only develop quietly from the open to the dark. Fortunately, we have a large amount of treasures, secret books, and elixirs hidden in various secret bases. In the early years, the branches that dispersed and hid their identities in Changzhou, Kangshao and other places have also multiplied a lot of people. Our family's manors, shops, financial channels, and connections in the court are still there. The foundation is not damaged at all. As long as we lie low for a period of time, we can completely turn over. After a speech, not only did everyone feel a little relieved, even the old man in green was convinced by himself. He sneered and murmured, a nouveau riche force is worthy of being compared with my century-old family? Our foundation has always been unimaginable to him. Once his Xiantian realm appears again in my clan, it will be the time for his Misty Rain Tower to be destroyed. What if I can't get out? The middle-aged strong man frowned. If you can't get out, ask someone to kill him. The old man in green had a ferocious look in his eyes. As long as you can afford the price, the Xiantian realm is not invincible. My Tan family must rise again. Yes. Everyone roared in unison. Everyone was as excited as if they had been injected with chicken blood. The century-old clan has always had a perfect plan to deal with crises. They have already prepared too many things. Not to mention that there are still dozens of people left. Even if there are only 3 or 5 people left, they can revive at a very fast speed. Therefore, the idea of revenge quickly filled everyone's mind, and made them forget their fear and become full of goals and enthusiasm. The cohesion of the aristocratic family was highlighted at this moment. Once they are allowed to develop in the dark, Yan'an Tower will definitely have trouble sleeping and eating in the future. Pa pa pa. Great, great. A burst of applause came from a distance. The next moment, the gate of the manor was blasted into pieces by an invisible force, and a man wearing a bronze mask stepped in front of everyone with a smile. Shoo, shoo, shoo. One after another, black-clothed figures jumped in from all over the courtyard wall, and soon surrounded the entire manor. Not even a fly could escape. Oh no. Everyone's face changed and they were all limp with fear. The green-clothed old man, who was still full of enthusiasm just now, also widened his eyes. Obviously, he didn't expect that the remnants of the Tan family had already been targeted, and the other party was just trying to fish. Everyone, can we discuss it? If there is any offense, our Tan family has already paid the price. Why should we kill them all? The green-clothed old man said bitterly. Bang! Wei Hong casually flicked his sleeves. The terrifying aura was like a mountain peak crashing in. Before the 3 strong men in the refining organ realm could react, they were blown away on the spot. Puff, puff, puff. The 3 people's bones and muscles were broken, and they stopped in the ruins after smashing several houses in succession. They vomited blood and died with horror and unwillingness on their faces. Unfortunately, although they are masters of the refining organ realm, but they were as weak as ants in front of the Xiantian realm. Wei Hong was too lazy to talk nonsense with him. He waved his sleeves casually like shooing away mosquitoes, which was enough to shatter their internal organs and kill them. Kill! Luan Zioki gave an order, and the Yan'an Tower's dead soldiers immediately rushed into the crowd and slaughtered crazily. These remnants of the Tan family who were still in shock were completely annihilated this time. Amid screams and wails, they all fell in a pool of blood. Wei Hong was too lazy to watch these bloody things. He waved his hand and ordered Luan Zioki, send someone to dig 3 feet underground later to find the Tan family's treasures. I am very much looking forward to the heritage of a century-old family. Yes. Luan Zioki agreed excitedly. Chapter 323 Tan King Song's Essay, His Heart of Taoism is in Chaos. As a century-old family, the foundation of the Tan family is not only reflected in their connections, wealth and strength, but also in the many secret treasure houses they secretly arranged. The reason why the remnants of the Tan family came to hide in this small town manor is because there is a secret treasure house of theirs here, which contains a large amount of gold, silver, jewelry and martial arts secrets, all of which are good things enough to make the Tan family turn over. Unfortunately, now all of these are cheap to Yan'anyu Tower. After finding the treasure house, Luan Zioki was in a good mood and directly directed the people to take all the things away. The huge underground treasure house was full of large boxes, enough for them to move for a while. Finally, Luan Zioki came out holding a mahogany box. "Brother Wei, you are definitely not interested in the gold, silver, jewelry and secrets in the treasure house, but you can take a look at these too," Luan Zioki said in a low voice like offering treasures. Oh. Wei Hong was interested. Things that were carefully collected by the Tan family were naturally not ordinary stuff. He took the box and opened it, and saw 2 booklets inside. His face suddenly became strange. One of the 2 booklets was actually the 5 Elements Key Training Secret. You know, although it is a method for cultivating immortals, it is the most rubbish and common stuff. He once got one in Baiyun Temple. I don't know if it is too common or too cheap. So the immortal cultivation method in the hands of the Tan family is also the 5 Elements Key Training Secret. I thought it was something good. What a pity. Wei Hong flipped through it casually and found that the Tan family had already translated the method clearly, and anyone who got it could practice it. It's a pity that there is no spiritual energy in the Sin domain. No matter what, it is just a piece of waste paper. You don't want it. Luan Zioki was shocked. This is a method for cultivating immortals. Let me correct you. It's the most rubbish and common method for cultivating immortals. I guess it's just a piece of crap in the world of cultivating immortals. Wei Hong said indifferently, "If you are interested, you can put it in the Sutra Pavilion of Yan'anyu Tower. If someone can reach the Xianshan realm in the future, they can also use it to embark on the road of cultivating immortals." That's right. Luan Zioki happily put it away. Although it is a common thing, the cultivation methods in the Sin domain are already scarce. Having one in the Sutra Pavilion can be regarded as adding to the heritage of Yan'anyu Tower. What else is Luan Zioki dissatisfied with? As for the second booklet, it is a bit interesting. It turned out to be a travelogue. Wei Hong flipped through it casually and his expression became serious. 100 years ago, an ancestor of the Tan family entered the world of cultivating immortals and returned to the Sin domain to die in old age. Wei Hong looked at this Tan King Song essays in surprise. This is the handwriting of an ancestor of the Tan family named Tan King Song. He claimed to be a rare martial arts genius in a century. He had entered the Xianshan realm before he was 60 years old. He was eager to enter the world of immortal cultivation and pave a smooth road for the Tan family. There is a cliff called Mixin Cliff in the extreme north of the Sin domain. At the end of the leap month every 4 years, an immortal boat rides the wind and waves to come. Those who are in the Xianshan realm or hold the immortal order can board the boat. The immortal boat arrived in the southwest of the Day dynasty after floating for 3 days. There is an immortal sect called Kingayan sect in the area. Its influence covers thousands of miles and there are thousands of disciples. Wei Hong studied the notes word by word. It was as if he had witnessed the immortal journey of the senior Tan King Song with his own eyes. He was sent directly to the Kingayan sect by the immortal boat, and saw countless rare and exotic animals, and even saw the magnificent world of immortal cultivation. But it is obviously not easy for ordinary people to walk the immortal path. At the beginning, every part of Tan King Song's essay was relaxed, happy, and yearning. He felt very novel about everything in the world of immortal cultivation. He settled down at the foot of Kingayan Mountain, determined to take root here and reproduce the glory of the mortal world. But gradually, there were many complaints, anger, resentment and dissatisfaction in Tan King Song's notes. From his intermittent records and complaints and abuses, although Wei Hong didn't know what happened, he could probably guess that he was bullied at the foot of Kingayan Mountain. Where there are people, there are rivers and lakes. A top-level innate realm powerhouse in the world of immortal cultivation is like mud. What does he eat and drink? How to earn resources? How to exchange for skills? Tan King Song is like a local rich man in a small county town. He ran to a rich place like Chengdu to survive, and he was not used to it everywhere. Anyone can bully him. I want to practice and become stronger, but I find that it is not easy everywhere. What a proud innate realm powerhouse. In the end, he was forced to be like a madman, constantly venting and cursing in his notes. From his words, we can see how devastated he is. At the end of the notes, Tan King Song wrote a very desperate sentence: cultivating immortals, wasting half of your life is just a trivial matter. Future Tan family members must remember to learn from me and not be too ambitious. The road to longevity is rugged and thorny. Be careful. After reading this, Wei Hong's heart was already cold. He was already at the top of the pyramid in the Great Zhou dynasty. The emperor did not dare to offend him easily. He could swagger away after destroying the entire Tan family in the capital of gods. His life was so comfortable. But if he went to the world of cultivating immortals, he would become a low-level person again, repeating Tan King Song's pain and struggling in the quagmire. Want to buy a technique? Sure, save up spirit stones for a few years first. Want to buy a magic weapon? You can only look at the second-hand goods that others have discarded. By the time you become a little stronger after all the hard work, others have already left you far behind. After wasting half your life, you find that you can't even beat the most ordinary errand disciple in the immortal sect. This kind of gap and humiliation is definitely enough to drive people crazy. If Wei Hong wants to give up his current position in the Great Zhou and embark on this road of no return, can he really bear it? As the saying goes, it is better to be the head of a chicken than the tail of a phoenix. At this moment, he actually felt like giving up. No, absolutely not. Wei Hong gritted his teeth and extinguished this idea. What's the point of life if you are only willing to live in a corner? I don't care about food, power, and women. Only power is the eternal pursuit. No one can stop my way. Even if I go to the world of immortal cultivation and start from scratch, sweep the streets as a slave, and pour night incense every day, I will be happy. After all, people who don't die will eventually have a day to rise. Tan King Song is just an ordinary mortal. He is getting older every day. Naturally, he is anxious to become stronger and break through to a higher realm to gain more life. But I'm different. In theory, my lifespan is endless, so I can spend more time to manage and struggle. If 10 years don't work, then 100 years. If 100 years don't work, then 1,000 years. One day, I will become a native of the world of immortal cultivation. Wei Hong kept comforting himself. After some analysis, his Tao heart became more and more firm, and his mood changed from the initial uneasiness to full of expectations. Chapter 324, 3 years to cut off worldly ties. After strengthening his heart, Wei Hong began to make full preparations for going to the world of immortal cultivation. He was not in a hurry to go there immediately. After all, he was only in his early 20s, and time was something he could squander at will. Yan Qing's life was running out. After many persuasions, she insisted on not leaving her homeland. Wei Hong was also afraid that she would be displaced with him and suffer in the world of immortal cultivation, so he didn't persuade her much in the end, but just accompanied her silently through the last journey of her life. The two lived in seclusion in a farm outside the city. Indulge in the mountains and rivers, appreciate flowers and work every day. When the mood comes, cook a table of delicious food and drink and sing. Every day, the small life is very comfortable. It is really the most comfortable time Wei Hong has spent in his life. He completely let go of his practice. No longer practice martial arts hard every day, just enjoy life wantonly. But the more he did this, the deeper his understanding of various martial arts became. Unknowingly, the various martial arts he had practiced for many years began to be integrated and completely integrated by him. If Wei Hong is willing to calm down and study every day at this time, I believe that within 3 to 5 years, he will definitely be able to create a unique martial arts that has never been seen before and will never be seen again, and it is even possible to reach a higher level with this. But what can this do? The road to martial arts has been cut off. Wei Hong has no interest and energy to break a path on his own, so it is better to rest for a few years. He doesn't think much about creating martial arts. 3 years passed in a flash. Wei Hong spent 3 years quietly in the manor. For more than 1,000 days and nights, he lived like an ordinary person. He didn't have to worry about firewood, rice, oil and salt, nor did he have to worry about the hatred of the rivers and lakes. Every day was very comfortable and fulfilling. 3 years seemed very long, and it seemed like only overnight. Wei Hong watched Yan Qing's vitality wither day by day. She was like a beautiful flower, gradually going from enchanting to withering, until she reached the end of her life. She is a woman with a strong personality. She seems gentle and submissive, but she is very opinionated. She was not afraid of death at all, but calmly. She even smiled when she died in Wei Hong's arms. Maybe in her eyes, her life was complete? Although she didn't leave any children in the world and died in her early 20s, she was worthy of everyone and was glad that she could accompany Wei Hong through a life journey. In the end, Wei Hong burned her to ashes and buried her ashes in a grave in the corner of the farm, resting with old Wei and her brothers and sisters. There was no funeral, no mourning. Wei Hong didn't even shed a tear. His heart had already become as hard as iron, and he could face all the changes in the world calmly. He just planted a large flower bed in front of her grave silently, hoping that she would be surrounded by flowers and happy in her next life. "I'm sorry, I'm late." Nai Sanyang appeared in front of the tomb with a complicated expression, holding 3 bronze tokens engraved with a large number of mysterious runes in her hands. "This is the Ascension Order." Nai Sanyang sighed and said, "If I had come here half a year earlier, maybe your wife could have gone to the world of immortal cultivation to seek a glimmer of hope." "Sorry." "Don't be sorry, she didn't want to go to the world of immortal cultivation." Wei Hong murmured inside. "King was born and raised here, and finally fell asleep here, just like a night blooming Sirius blooming in the Sin domain. It is enough to have been gorgeous once. Why force yourself to ask for more? You are open-minded." Nai Sanyang was stunned. "It's not me who is open-minded, but she is." Wei Hong looked at the 4 big characters "My Wife King" on the tombstone, with a hint of tenderness in his eyes. "Instead of becoming old and withered under the baptism of time, it is better to die at the most beautiful age. In this respect, people in the world are far better than her." "Yes." Nai Sanyang was also full of admiration. Finally, she threw 3 immortal orders to Wei Hong and said, "Nothing major has happened in Shenzhen in recent years. Many forces have accumulated enough points to exchange for immortal orders. I believe that there will be many people on the next batch of immortal boats. Be careful. Yuandu sect are not going." Wei Hong was surprised. "Go, but not now." Nai Sanyang said in a deep voice, "There are only 3 refining organs in the sect now. I need to go back to the sect to train more disciples to continue the inheritance. In addition, the law of the jungle in the world of cultivation is extremely cruel. If you don't reach the Xianshan realm, you will be eaten up without leaving any residue. Let's go later." "Yes. That's true." Wei Hong agreed with this very much. The world of cultivation is a den of wolves and tigers. If you go to the Xianshan realm, you may not be able to save your life. You have to be careful in every word and action. If you go below the Xianshan realm, you will be worse than a dog, right? The choice of Wandu sect is right. You will never leave the Sin domain unless you are at the Xianshan realm. Unless it is a top force like the 5 major families, their elders have gone to the world of cultivation for generations and have established a firm foothold. Their nephews and nieces will not panic at all because they have someone to protect them. Small families and ordinary people naturally have to be more careful. Half a year later, it will be the leap month that happens once every 4 years. I will go to the world of immortal cultivation at that time." Wei Hong said in a deep voice, "See you again if we are lucky in the future." "I hope so. Take care." Nai Sanyang clasped her fists and left. Every move was full of the unrestrained and free-spirited nature of a child of the Jianghu. Wei Hong smiled slightly and looked at the immortal orders in his hand. He couldn't help but sigh secretly. They were originally prepared for his grandfather and Yanking, but he didn't expect that they would not be used in the end. In the fields on the side, Luan Zioki, Qi Uju, and Lin Yuanyun had complicated expressions. After a few years, Luan Zioki and Qi Uju fell in love with each other and promised to be husband and wife for life. With them taking care of this place in the future, the peace of grandfather and king should not be disturbed by others. Lin Yuanyun has grown into a big girl of 11 or 12 years old. In a few years, she will be able to marry at the age of marriage. Her slender figure is full of the tenderness of a girl. Look back. The figures of Uncle Lu, Lin Wusheng and others flashed through Wei Hong's mind. He also remembered the neighbors in the slums, the uncles and aunts on the streets. He remembered the storyteller in the restaurant. He remembered the bowl of memorable miscellaneous soup at the entrance of the alley. It's time to go. Wei Hong cut off the past without any nostalgia. He raised his hand and threw 2 immortal orders to Luan Zioki. He no longer paid attention to the complicated and reluctant eyes of the 3 people, waved his hand and walked away. "I'm leaving you today. I'll go wherever I want. Knowing each other is not far away. 10,000 miles is also true love." Wei Hong laughed loudly and left, and his figure soon disappeared into the sky, thus completely cutting off the last trace of contact with the Great Zhou. From then on, He would walk alone again. No matter whether the road ahead is life or death, or how many difficulties and obstacles he will face, he wants to go on unswervingly. Chapter 325, Looking for the Immortal Cliff and the Dreamer. Winter the far north of the Great Zhou dynasty was uninhabited. All that was left was a vast expanse of white ice and snow. The endless mountains and rivers blended into one, and there was no human habitation within 100 miles. Wei Hong was alone on a horse. He was dressed in a green brocade suit, pretending to be a swordsman in the rivers and lakes, and he kept referring to the map as he walked further north. He had been walking for several months since he said goodbye to the capital of the gods. From autumn to winter, Wei Hong walked northward, sometimes visiting mountains and rivers, and sometimes eating, drinking, playing, and listening to music in ancient cities. He really enjoyed his life. Along the way, Wei Hong was getting closer and closer to the far north. When the horse under his crotch could no longer hold on, he finally saw a mountain cliff standing proudly on the edge of the sea. It stood by the sea, 100 feet high. There was a large grove of trees on the top of the cliff, and you could see the endless blue sea from a high vantage point. When Wei Hong approached, he immediately saw 20 or 30 figures. They were men and women, young and old, busy making fires and barbecuing, or busy building wooden houses, or gathering in groups of 3 or 2 to chat. Seeing Wei Hong approaching, only a few people looked up and took a few glances. The rest of the people continued to do what they had to do, and they were not curious about him at all. Obviously, Wei Hong found the right place. This is the Immortal Cliff recorded in Tan King Song's essay. These people are probably dreamers who want to board the ferry boat and go to the world of immortal cultivation. Everyone doesn't know each other in a strange place, so it's normal to be cautious. Wei Hong turned over and dismounted without saying a word, untied the reins of the scale-armored horse and released it, and then walked silently to the grove on the cliff to start cutting wood and building houses. There were already many abandoned wooden houses and fires on the cliff. Obviously, many people used to live here, waiting for the arrival of the ferry boat, and now there is still some time before the leap month, so just stay here for the time being. In addition to several thousand kilograms of spiritual ore, Wei Hong's storage bag also stores some food and medicinal materials. In addition, he can hunt in the surrounding snowfields and forests, and fish in the sea. Therefore, living here for a few months is not a problem. After a while, the cabin was built. Wei Hong went out for a walk and brought back a few fat rabbits and 3 fat sea fish. He built a fire with stones in front of the cabin, and then put 2 wooden sticks on it and started to tinker with it. His cooking skills are undoubtedly excellent. Even without too many seasonings, just roasting it casually is already fragrant. The roasted rabbit and roasted fish are golden in color and rich in fragrance, which attracted everyone's attention for a while. Several young men and women in gorgeous clothes couldn't help but sniff and showed a look of surprise. Haha. Wei Hong released a trace of innate aura without raising his head. The steps of several people who were about to come over suddenly stopped, and finally retreated reluctantly. Since a Xiantian realm expert showed resistance, naturally no one dared to go forward to cause trouble. How stupid is it to fence someone for a bite of food? Therefore, everyone either continued to gnaw on dry food or eat the burnt meat. The tip of their nose kept smelling the fragrance coming from Wei Hong, and they all hated it in their hearts. But this place is deserted. Whether they are Xiantian realm experts or the children of the rich and powerful, whether they have power or money, they can't buy delicious food, so they can only bear it. But after all, there are still people who are not afraid of death. A sloppy old Taoist priest with a white beard came over with a wine pot, staring at the barbecue with shining eyes and swallowing his saliva, sighing, "Isn't it a pity to have meat without wine? Taoist friend, do you want to have a drink? Sit." Wei Hong waved his hand indifferently. The old Taoist priest immediately sat down happily, and handed over the wine gourd. He grabbed a roasted rabbit and ate it without hesitation. As soon as Wei Hong touched the wine gourd, he could not help but be amazed. This inconspicuous jade gourd actually weighed more than 1,000 pounds. When the cork was removed, it was filled with emerald green wine. More than 1,000 pounds of jade wine. Wei Hong took a deep breath. A palm-sized jade gourd actually concealed a space, which contained more than 1,000 pounds of jade wine. Obviously, this was a space-type magic weapon. The sloppy old Taoist priest was definitely not an ordinary person. Good wine, good wine. Wei Hong did not ask any more questions. After taking a sip, he could not help but admire it. This is the wine gourd that my ancestor brought back from the world of immortal cultivation. If it were not for the extinction of spiritual energy in the Sin domain, it could automatically absorb the surrounding spiritual energy to warm the wine. The sloppy old Taoist priest shook his head and boasted complacently, "Do you know that even ordinary wine can become spiritual wine that is beneficial to cultivation as long as it is warmed in it for 10 or 8 years? Awesome." Wei Hong could not help but smack his lips. He was also a wine lover. If he had the chance in the future, he would definitely buy a few of these gourds and store a batch of good wine. "Your cooking skills are amazing," the sloppy old Taoist priest said with a look of aftertaste. An ordinary rabbit was roasted so fragrant that even every bone was intoxicating. "I love delicious food the most in my life, but I have never tasted such cooking skills. You can be a spiritual chef in the future when you go to the world of immortal cultivation." Spiritual chef? Wei Hong was a little puzzled. Yes. The sloppy old Taoist priest was obviously very familiar with the world of immortal cultivation. He chuckled and said, "The cultivators are divided into the realms of key training, foundation building, golden elixir, and nascent soul. Before the foundation building, they cannot practice fasting, so the cultivators must also eat grains. Spiritual chefs are the cooks among the cultivators. They are familiar with the nature of food and the physiology of various spiritual herbs. They can use spiritual rice, monster meat and other ingredients to cook dishes full of spiritual energy. This kind of delicacy not only has the effect of cleansing the essence and prolonging life, but also can satisfy the appetite of the cultivators and promote the speed of cultivation. In short, in the world of immortal cultivation, a skilled spiritual chef is definitely very popular. Even the ancestors in the golden elixir and nascent soul stage have many greedy people. If you become a spiritual chef, you will definitely have a bright future." Wei Hong couldn't help but think about it. This is a good career, but it is still unclear whether to do it. "I'm afraid that not everyone can do it." "Senior, are you familiar with the world of immortal cultivation?" Wei Hong suddenly asked. "Familiar? Not really." The sloppy old Taoist priest shook his head and chuckled. "If we talk about familiarity, the 5 great families and the royal family are more familiar with them. They have their own family elders in the Kingayan sect, and there are even old monsters who are nearly hundreds of years old and hold high positions. Don't mess with them casually." After saying that, he looked at the men and women in gorgeous clothes. They were very noble and dignified, and they were accompanied by servants. It can be seen that their identities and origins are definitely not simple. Now everyone seems to have equal status. But only the old Taoist priest knows that once they set foot in the world of immortal cultivation, their identities and status will immediately become very different. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.